From my apartment, it's Rob has a podcast, and now here's the guy who is an analogy guy. I am Rob Cesternino. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our Survivor feedback show here for week number 5, and we are blessed here today because we have an iconic Survivor mind, one of the greatest of this generation. Of course, she just got done wrapping up watching a season of Australian Survivor. And of course, you could hear her every week covering the Survivor global beat here, talking Survivor 42 in our Survivor podcast feed. Please welcome in our chief international Survivor correspondent. It's Shannon Guss. Shannon, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Mr. Rob.
Yeah, please. I that's still new to me. Still haven't gotten used to that.
Yeah, you know, when I watched the episode, I was like, I'm either going to come in calling Rob Mr. Rob, or I'm going to talk about how I want him to die first. But then I felt like on Know-It-Alls, you would see covered the mortality thing, so I went with Mr. Rob.
Yeah.
I hope I die first. I don't want to outlive the people I love.
Yeah, well, you know, it's such a bummer to talk about that. Why don't we abstain?
Stephen really went through and when do you think this person will die? I'm like, this could be its own podcast. Let's just run through the list.
I mean, yeah, some people make a pool every year. Yeah. Shannon, we have so much to get to here as we close out the pre-merge, not quite, of Survivor 42. And what a fun ride it's been.
I think so. I think it's been really, really fun because the cast is great, because the editing is great, super even. I think everyone except Lindsay got a confessional this episode, and she had a lot in the secret scenes. Like, we know everyone. Episode 3 was, I think, all-time great. So, to have, a pre-merge or pre-something episode of that caliber, I think elevates the whole season already. I don't think it's far enough in to be are we getting one of the greats? We have a lot to go, but we are on the right track for sure.
Right. But we've definitely had seasons where this season stinks and this was a bad pre-merge. So, I mean, we can only, control as far as we can get. And so, we had a really fun pre-merge and a great cast, and it's a wide open game here with 4-4-4. Going into whatever happens in the 2-hour episode coming up on Wednesday, which I'm sure we will speculate about quite a bit. Of course, if you're just jumping in on this podcast, be sure to check out everything we have going on this week, including my interview with T-Bird, which was a lot of fun catching up with T-Bird, and she had some great stories from going to the Ron Clark Academy this past Wednesday night. Check that out. And of course, the exit interview with Daniel, the know-it-alls, and everything else that's in our Survivor podcast feed, where you can normally hear Survivor Global. robhasawebsite.com/Survivor feed. No Survivor Global this week as Shannon's here with us.
Yes, I feel like, how much more am I going to have to say after this, I assume, very long podcast?
Yes. By the way, also, be sure to check out, we'll also have, for the patrons of Rob's podcast, the Survivor Academy coming up with Asia Welch over the weekend, where I talk through what every future Survivor player needs to take away from the week. And of course, we had a great interview, the bonus interview this week with Sierra Schultze, a YouTuber. She talks about fashion, body positivity. She's got a huge following on YouTube and Instagram, and she's a big Survivor fan, listens to RHAP. Check that out as well in the Rob's podcast main feed. Shannon, how are you after a very long journey through Australian Survivor?
I'm good. I spent the last 2.5 months staying at my parents while we get our apartment ready and not moving out because we were getting the apartment ready, and also because I was covering so much Survivor that in the day I work, in the night and the weekends I do Survivor stuff. So I've just been here doing this at my parents, and it has been my whole life. So now the season is over. It was a lot good and bad. Some people might say more bad, but look, it's done. And Survivor 42 has been a little bit refreshing in some ways, for example, with the editing compared to that, hearing all of the personal stories, things that we kind of missed a bit in Australian Survivor. So to answer your question, to go all the way back around, I'm doing okay, Rob. Thank you for asking.
Shannon, have you answered this question of that? Okay, we know Russell Hantz has been on Australian Survivor briefly. Then we saw the Queen, Sandra, appear on Australian Survivor this time out. Who do you think would be the next person that Australian Survivor would want to have come out and play?
They'd want Boston Rob, who they will get into.
I don't think he would do it. So who is the fit? Who is the fit of the person they would want and person that would do it?
Fair play.
Oh, interesting. I think
because he would do it because he's not getting asked back on US Survivor. He's covering Australian Survivor. They would be into it because that's like a recognizable name for them, which is probably few and far between for Australian Survivor production. I feel like if I don't see Johnny Fairplay on Australian Survivor in the next 5 to 7 seasons, I'd actually be quite surprised. Yeah, I think that's how much I'm willing to put into it.
That's a really good call. I thought you were going to say Suri, but I'm not sure.
I requested it.
Yeah.
On the last episode of Talking Tribal, I was like I said it on the show. I was like, can we get Suri on the show? Please,
I'm not sure Suri would say yes, because I think that she is probably waiting on, one more ride on, to Fiji. So I think that Fair Play is a good one. Yeah,
Fair Play 100% will do it. You got to think about the people who, like, they're looking to, like, what can they gain out of it? Like Russell. I mean, Russell's always, I guess, looking to do something. Sandra only did it for Nina. So that was the pool. But yeah, Fair Play he's going to do it. He really is. I put money on it at this point.
Yeah.
And there probably is like a betting odds for knowing how much Australian people are. Well, the Australian society is quite obsessed with gambling. So I'm sure there's a market for will Fair Play play Australian Survivor one day. And I think it's a good bet.
Okay. Shannon, Survivor 42. Let's get your take on where we're at after this week. Of course, I saw you had tweeted out already about how that you're coming on the podcast this week. You're one of your beloved plurality votes happens here. What did you think of? We saw where Chanelle placed the vote on Mike. Did you like this move from Chanelle?
Yeah, I just want to say it's actually not like a real like plurality vote. Like at the beginning of my plurality vote specific podcast that I did with Taryn, we did say like if a majority is splitting, but they actually have the majority, like Lydia and Mike do. I don't really consider that a plurality vote, but I'm willing to like lean into the fun of it. But I hate to like come on and be like, it's not really a plurality vote. You just split the vote.
We're just having fun.
Still found it fun, to be fair. So every week on Survivor Wordle, like many weeks, I come on and I'm like, should the second option be throwing their vote? Because like I think that this was confusing for people because Shot in the Dark wasn't played, let alone hitting by Daniel. And then the majority split to counter Chanelle's moves, so it made it this like seemingly confusing 2-2-1. But say in the first episode, Zach does play Shot in the Dark and Tori votes for, say, Roxroy. I think that would seem a lot clearer to us, like clearly what Tori would be trying to do there in throwing her vote. Because if Shot in the Dark hits, as you so well articulated on Know-It-Alls, then is Tori just going to go home on that? And she would have on the 0 vote revote. She'd go home. So every week we kind of ask, is the social misstep or the social gap, and Mike seems mad about it, is that worth the 16.666%? Then also we'll have to talk about it. The majority also counted it by splitting. But is it worth it for Chanelle? That we ask this every week. And that's why I know that you've been saying like the Shot in the Dark should increase. And I don't agree. Like, I feel like 1 in 6 is a good amount to be like, it's scary enough that like you can do something, but it's a choice of whether you should. And we can debate for Chanelle whether 16.666% was worth like aggravating Mike.
Do you think potentially heading into the merge that affects the decision where that, okay, there is and again, I don't know if they've sort of like gamed this out of, I mean, they seem to be feeling like, okay, the merge is coming. We see in the preview, Mike says like, hey, merge, what do you think? It's 4-4-4. Do you think that weighs into Chanelle's decision of whether or not to do this? Because I think if you know that you are going to another tribal council potentially, I mean, I guess she's kind of like in a bad spot anyway. So I guess like, what's the harm?
Yeah, I feel like she's so clearly on the bottom. And I think it's like where Vati comes from. Like this 2-2-1, where Daniel is discussing their mortality, is like the best tribal council that they've had as a tribe. Like it's still like way better than what they had before. So if I'm Chanelle, who is a self-interested player and who is a savvy player and who doesn't really have connections here, like I think Chanelle's out the door at the merge. And even if they go to another tribal council, like I don't feel like this necessarily affects it because she's clearly not in the majority. And I think that's a big thing as well. there's a fly flying around. So if I'm like, no, if I think a big thing as well is that people on Twitter were like, she could have voted herself out by voting this way. And like she couldn't. Like that's the important thing, is that like the majority are deciding who goes home. They split in a way that like Daniel's going to go home because they want him to go home. All Chanelle can do is either vote with the majority to show loyalty or play shot in the dark if she thinks she's the primary. She reads Daniel's the primary, so she throws her vote. So there's a lot of strategic sense to it. There's a ton of numerical sense to it, but it's about the unity. It's about how mad they're going to be coming back. And I think, you know, it's probably a lost cause at this point for Vati, who are just a complete and utter mess.
Yeah. And they're going into the merge. They need her number anyway. So they could be mad at her if they want, but what are they going to do? Side with another tribe to vote her out?
Yeah. I mean, I think that she's like such a flight risk. I think that is a problem for them.
Suddenly she has a lot of leverage going into a merge.
I think so. I think, like, you know, I didn't go so great at Triple Island for reasons, but like she's got the connection with Omar. Like, I think that they're picking her up. So I think that she has power there.
You think
Taku? Yeah.
I think this is going to be a theme that we're going to talk about today. A lot of the flight risks, who and you know where they're potentially going to go and what the connections are. So we will talk more about that. I want to know just to talk Vati through here with you. In your opinion, the three of Lydia, Hai, and Mike, did they make the right call to vote out Daniel?
I don't think they did. And I think the fact that she threw a vote is like, that's like self-evident in that, isn't it? Like, look what Daniel does. Daniel votes with them. So he's either like at least trying to be unified with them. And even so, even if it's not that, like he's blindsided. So either he's with you or you kind of have one over on him. They do have one over on Chanelle because they split, which we'll talk about. But she throws a vote. Like, that's how self-interested is that? Like, how much is she not with them? And she's the kind of player who would even think to do that. I think just like in the fact that she would throw a vote, it shows how much, like all the reasons that you would keep Daniel. It's a very similar conversation that they were having with Swati and Tori last week. And I think that they should have taken out Swati, which they did. I think Chanelle's in the Swati role of like, Tori and Daniel are both more transparent. Yeah. If they are both flight risks, which they probably are, at least you can read it. Versus like, you know, Swati was doing things more kind of like under the radar, and Chanelle is like smart enough to throw a vote. So
well, I listened to last week on Survivor Global when you were talking with Phil, and I thought that the point that you had made on that podcast, which I had not thought about, was that you felt like that it was and tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong, that you felt like it was the right move to vote out Swati, because that if you are Romeo and Drea, that Swati and Romeo are much more likely to be a pair of two that you are potentially dealing. Sorry. So, Swati and Roxroy are a pair that you are potentially having to deal with. And while yes, Drea does have the extra vote, but does she want to use it in that spot potentially to and then, you know, God forbid she had the beware advantage, she potentially was going to lose her vote in that spot, and then you end up with, you know, going into a 2-2 tie with Swati and Roxroy, as opposed to Roxroy and Tori, who are never going to work together.
Yeah, and I think like it gave them so much control to play big, and that's the Drea way. As we'll see, like Drea doesn't do anything by halves, which I actually appreciate as someone who also doesn't like to do things by halves. But like it gives her the capacity to pick up the beware advantage, and like even if she did lose a vote and couldn't even use her extra vote or couldn't give it to Romeo, like Tori and Roxroy are voting against each other. Like that's never ever coming like against Romeo and Drea. So the power that it gave them, and I know that it's divided, and I know Tori wants to flip, but Tori wants to flip on Roxroy, and Roxroy is falling on his sword by how unapproachable he was to Romeo and Drea. So I feel like they still really have that covered. So I feel like there was like a kind of a different element strategically to that. In this situation with Vati, I do think it is. I think Daniel would have been more loyal. Like, I think it's the lowest of bars, because Chanelle, I think, will 100% not be loyal. I think Daniel maybe had like 8% of being loyal. Like, he seemed to kind of be reaching for something. And even if he isn't, like, I bet you beat Daniel. Hi. Like, I bet you win out on that. So I think just it was self-evident in that. But in saying that, I felt like the majority strategically, like we talk about her thrown vote, they then split the vote to counter, like they anticipate that from her, which is awesome. And then they split it 2-1 so that if Daniel plays shot in the dark and it hits, it's now a 2-1-1. The 2 votes have been negated by shot in the dark. she loses on the 1-1 revote. Like, I don't think she was trying to give herself a chance at a tie, which some people have been saying. I think that she didn't anticipate that they would anticipate that she would throw a vote. So, like, whether I agree with it from a social perspective is a different thing, because they as well, like, to talk about unity, they just split the vote on her, and she maybe now is more of a flight risk, especially if she didn't end up throwing a vote, but they've really shown that she's completely, like, irrelevant to them, and they'll cut her if they need to. But so unity aside, it is fun to see people game a system where it's like, she thinks about shot in the dark, she throws a vote, they think she might throw a vote, so they come over the top and split. Like, that's fun to me. Unity be damned, but like the rest of it strategically is fun.
So another fun thing about this was that when I rewatched the episode earlier today to get ready for this, that when, so it comes up, that's 2 votes Chanelle, 2 votes Daniel, 1 vote left Mike. Then Mike turns around and she's like, I don't know, because Chanelle in that spot, she can't let Mike think that that she was the person that wrote the name down, because obviously Daniel did what he said, and if there's any sort of discussion in that spot, then it could turn into like, wait, who wrote my name down? It was all right, we're guys, vote out Chanelle on the revote.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And that what I'm saying is, like, it's self-evident immediately that they should vote out Chanelle. They should have voted out Chanelle because she threw a vote. They have the opportunity. They know that, and they have the opportunity to do it. I think they should have flipped at the revote. Like, this wasn't even something that I was considering.
I know you're not supposed to talk here, but like a live tribal has broken out in all sorts of different ways. If Daniel, like, if he's like I didn't vote for Mike. I didn't vote for Mike. Like, I voted for Chanelle.
The other vote Chanelle, though. So they know that it's like, if you're working it out, like, they know how they voted. So the other vote's for Chanelle. So Chanelle can't vote for Chanelle. So they know it's Chanelle.
I don't think that at that point that they thought it through.
Right.
Mike says to her, "Hey, I kept my word, but somebody voted for me." He didn't. Mike in that moment clearly didn't like logic out that Chanelle voted for him.
Yeah, I mean, had they had that time, they might have gone a different way with it. I'd be like, Jeff, quick math break.
Yeah.
Hey, and then like I'd be like at the voting booth being like, sorry, Chanelle, which is like kind of an Australian Survivor thing if you can't talk about it. Loudly voting for Chanelle. I think that they should. I mean, look, I don't know. Is that really, really gamey to vote Daniel out and then go back on it? At that point, maybe you're like in for a penny, in for a pound. But I don't know. Part of me is like, she really could have suffered for that on the 2-1.
Yeah. Can you do that at a tribal council? Like, hold on, like, let's logic this out. Like, is Jeff gonna say, no, everybody vote now? I was like, I think they like the, like, oh, there's so much confusion. Like, nobody have time to think about it. But
yeah, it's funny because
it would have been a bigger moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think they would have loved that. I think they would have allowed it. We always say, like, they'll go with what's the best TV. Like, last week I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, well, it was different in my mind. We'll talk about, I guess. I thought Roxroy was more informed, and then I went back and watched, and I feel like he obviously was, and he was blindsided. But it's something Tori could have done in knowing that if Swati plays, like, so I thought Tori maybe thought Roxroy was with them, and I don't know what Tori knew. But if Swati plays a shot in the dark, and it hits, Tori will go home on that one vote, right? Because they voted as a 3. What Tori could have done is done her own split, because Drea and Romeo aren't doing that because they would rather that Tori goes. But if she does her own split, then she takes it to the 1-1. But then I always felt like, well, Romeo and Drea could flip on Tori at the revote, because if she's shown to be so self-interested, splitting on the own vote, it would go to a 2-2-1 if Swati doesn't play her shot in the dark. Exactly the situation. They might vote her out on the revote. I've been thinking that, and knowing now that they had the opportunity to do that with Chanelle, I think there's a very good argument for flipping at the revote.
Yeah. It's interesting that we'll have to see, exactly how it plays out, where, at what point do they sort of figure that out? But it's just like, it's this really interesting dynamic of that. Okay, now we're headed into the 4-4-4 vote now. So what are you going to do with that information? But in that moment, that there was a chance for, and if Daniel could have called it out, maybe that could have changed his fate.
Well, maybe if I'm like Hi and Lydia, I'm thinking, all right, she threw a vote, so did we. Let's all go back to camp and let bygones be bygones, versus Daniel, who was so loyal, who we just But he doesn't know that he was going to be the primary, although he could work it out because they're assuming that Chanel's going to work for Daniel. So he can go back to camp and be like, no, they thought 3 votes were on me. So he knows he's going to be voted out.
But
and then there's like an imbalance.
Yeah, it is very on brand, Shannon, for the Vati tribe to not know where the votes are going or coming from. That is kind of their thing.
Yeah. We're talking about whether Vati should have flipped the revote for 2 out of 2 tribal councils, which is actually really cool because people probably rarely flip it revotes. But I think there's an imbalance of going back with Daniel, who you just tried to vote out and who was loyal to you. Like he's 100% flipping on you because, like, past tribal council aside, in this tribal council, you betrayed him and he didn't betray you. Like at least going back with Chanelle, it's like, all right, we both pulled the guns out on each other. Let's just kind of start afresh. But yeah, it's actually interesting because I was like, well, her vote isn't important. And maybe that's what people are saying when they're like, she could have got herself voted out. I hadn't actually thought about them flipping on the revote because they had clearly tried to vote out Daniel. But yeah, she actually could have got herself voted out from that.
Yeah.
Just on the way that they covered it.
Think about what you had said about how that in Chanelle's mind, she probably thought that it was going to be 3-0 on on Daniel, and then ultimately just like, okay, well, I'm going to throw my 1 vote here, like in the final 5 scenario that we had, where Devin Pinto put the 1 vote on Dr. Mike, which was the deal breaker when Ben played the idol and canceled all of the votes. They got like 1 step ahead of that potentially, but it really could have backfired in an interesting way for Chanelle. So it's wild. Shannon, I had this thought the other day of that. I know Australian Survivor does this a little bit more with the when Daniel is giving his final words. That segment is longer in Australian Survivor.
Everything's longer in Australian
Survivor. Okay, but like, would that help? Like, where could we see like Chanelle voting for Mike and like talking about like, Mike, this vote is for you tonight because this is my insurance policy, rather than leave it for us to sort of like decipher of what's going on? Like, wouldn't that help the show?
Well, I like deciphering things. Yeah, exactly. Like for me, I feel like that would take me out of a job. Like if the survivors are just going to be able to explain what they mean, then I can't come on the podcast and be like, well, this is maybe what Chanelle intended, and also speculate about it. Then we lose podcasts.
We'd find things. We'd find other things. Yeah.
Yeah, but then people are tweeting at me like, "Can you explain this vote?" And that makes me feel needed, and I like feeling needed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think they could do that. I think once you thought about it, you said it on Know It Alls, like it made a lot of sense. It was just confusing the way because he didn't play Shot in the Dark, let alone it hitting, and then they split on it and made it seem. But that's the thing, is that Chanelle, Chanelle doesn't end up winning that vote because they anticipate her action and split on her. That's why she has the threat of the revote, because what it should have been was so if they all vote for Daniel, then her thrown vote is like, he's just going to go home and there's not going to be a revote. It just would have been like 3-1 or 3-2, or depending on if he plays the Shot in the Dark. So she's not anticipating them splitting to even take her to a revote, to even be at risk. So the majority really did kind of have, they also blindsided Daniel. He didn't even play the Shot in the Dark. Like they had everything covered. And I don't think she was anticipating her vote to take it to a revote to be a risk.
Just one last note on the podcasting of it all, that I'm going to stand my ground in that, let us know what actually happened, and then we'll worry about what we think is going to happen next. When we watch a sport game, we don't have to like debate about like, well, what do you think happened in the second quarter of like we're talking about like, okay, where are we going from here? What does this all mean?
No, Rob, isn't it like it's my greatest joy in life to be like, I think maybe they think this, and then hearing in an interview after that they're like, I thought this. I'm like, that's what I was saying. Like, I'd rather get things wrong and be able to get some of those right than have things. I mean, look, I want things to be clear, but I also want a balance of being able to speculate because it's fun. And I feel like a detective. I don't know. I guess more clarity in Survivor, more transparent clarity is definitely always right. But
a little bit
find
more.
The fun in it when we don't have it. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about where this is going for Chanelle. Let's bring in a voicemail question from Justin.
Rob and Shannon, this is Justin from Florida. I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the potential for unintended consequences of plurality votes. So we saw Chanelle throw the vote on Mike and 2 other folks received votes, but Chanelle could have some backlash for that decision And just thinking about the history of Survivor, sometimes those plurality votes don't work as intended. You can just talk through what Chanelle could be facing in future episodes and any examples that you think are interesting for maybe some of these unintended consequences of plurality votes. Thank you.
Well, Shannon, we saw Daniel come back from Tribal Council a couple episodes ago. And I think that by all accounts, probably handled the blowback poorly in terms of like, hey, I don't want to talk about it right now. I think that Chanelle, based on what we know about her, I think is likely to be able to mitigate any sort of blowback from this because that she just is able to, speak so plainly about what happened and not like get caught up in the like, you want the good news or the bad news? Can I tell you about this first? Before we get to that, I think that she has a much better bedside manner than I think Daniel did. And I think that will help her in addressing any sort of stigma about what happened.
Yeah, there's a preview of this that's out. I won't get too much into it, but like as we see at Tribal Council, Mike is mad. No one likes to see their name. But Chanelle is like completely entitled to throw her vote for a few reasons. That being that if he does play a shot in the dark and it does hit, she is going home. Like, is she not entitled to try and protect? Mm-hmm. Like, of course, it's her life in the game. And I think, I don't know, it seems unfair to expect that she should just kind of like take that. Also, did Mike not vote for Chanelle? But he's entitled to do that because if Shot in the Dark hits, but she's thrown a vote and he hasn't done that in his life in the game, so he's entitled to. But like, how can you be mad at that the other way?
So when I watched it the first time, I'm like, did he lie to her? He said, yeah. He's like, yeah, I kept my promise, but somebody voted for me. So that he did promise her that Daniel was going home. He did not promise that he would not vote for her.
Right. He's promising Daniel's going home, and Daniel is going home until his Shot in the Dark hits.
Mm-hmm.
And she's trying to, and so she's allowed to consider that, surely.
Sure.
She's allowed to fight for her own life in the game. And when he's voting for her as well.
Yeah. So I think she's gonna be all right. And then I think that like when they do arrive, in a situation where now it's gonna be Vati tribe. I don't think that they're just gonna throw her to the wolves. I think she's actually gonna have some leverage in that they want her to stick around and be a part of whatever they're doing. So I don't think that she has to worry too much about blowback from this. On that tribal council, I would love to hear from you, Shannon, because you are so good at looking at what happened and being able to help decipher exactly how it went down. We saw in the episode, Chanelle talks with Mike. Mike says, Daniel is definitely going home. Daniel talks with Hai. Hai says, I definitely want to keep you around. Do you think, did Lydia make the final call when she came back from Shipwheel Island?
It is hard to know. I mean, I see Hai as running things, especially because he was having to do so much while Lydia was gone. I feel like a lot of the stuff that was working into like why they would get rid of Daniel, I just didn't agree with. Like, I don't understand why the shoulder thing mattered. If anything, you're going into a merge. Isn't that a good thing? Like, I get that they're annoyed about it and he's like completely misreading their care for that. But like, this is to carry him through the entire pre-merge and then cut him right before a merge when he's at least like not a physical threat to you. I didn't understand that other than just like the pure emotion of like the irritants of that.
Yes. But in a way, isn't he kind of like a reverse Jonathan where that they say like, okay, he's our shield, Jonathan. He's such a good shield. We'll bring him into the merge. Whereas you have Daniel, who is not a challenge threat, who also has an injury. We've seen the history of, survivors like who are hurt. Where, Missy has a broken ankle, like, keep her around. Abby Maria, she's not going to win any challenges. Once somebody has like that kind of injury that's like holding them back, I feel like it's almost like that they tend to stick around and have a lot of longevity because people aren't worried about them.
That's true. But I mean,
it comes like the least likely target for on the Vati tribe.
Yeah, I mean, he and Chanelle, like, she has assets going forward that he doesn't have. Some of like challenge potential being one of them. Chanelle has relationships. Like, I know, maybe they think that went terribly because she lost her vote, like how badly must it have gone, but like she's met Omar in a way that Daniel hasn't been able to reach across the aisle. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's every single part of the decision is, do you want what Chanelle can bring to you, but will probably use against you, versus like at least Daniel, if he's against you, isn't like winning challenges, having some power in that. Even if he is kind of dragged to the end, it's a number for other people. Maybe he doesn't have like as much agency in that as what Chanelle would have. I would just take out Chanelle. Like I just feel like it's just a more threatening thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting to know exactly how that decision got made. It just because in the episode, Mike is basically like, hey, I don't care, whatever you want to do. And it seemed like that he was the person who was more in favor of keeping Chanelle and Hai. If Hai is the ultimate person who is the shot caller there in that tribe, he seemed like a little bit more. We see him in the beginning of the episode talk about how I think Chanelle is the one who's more dangerous, that I'm not as worried that, while Daniel is transparent, Chanelle is not transparent. I don't know what she's up to. And ultimately, Chanelle stays. So I wonder if Lydia put her thumb on the scale when she came back in a direction that was like, get rid of Daniel.
Yeah, and Daniel, wrote down Lydia's name. So it's like that personal, tangible thing that Chanelle didn't do because she'd never vote, which I actually understand from Daniel's perspective how frustrating it must be that she's like, I didn't have a vote. It's like, but you had a intention. So I get why that's been frustrating for him because she just as much was going to and intended to take Lydia out of the game in some capacity. I don't know who's running that, but I feel like Hai and Lydia probably work very, very well together to come to like the consensus that they feel is right for them, even if we don't agree. It's hard when you don't know the dynamics as much, like the relationships. I didn't notice, when Daniel's off in the water, the four of them can kind of all unite in bitching about him. So maybe they feel like they'll be a four, and at least they have some nice, like, happy family times of complaining about Daniel. Like, maybe they don't feel that like, four is as tight with Daniel there instead of Chanelle.
Let me bring in a question for you from Connor, who has a question about Chanelle at the merge and one of her relationships.
Hi, Robin, Shannon. Big fan here. Shannon, I want to thank you. I don't think I would have gotten through that Australian Survivor season if it weren't for your podcast. So really great job on that.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask about Chanelle and Omar. I realized that Omar no longer has a vote, but Chanelle is the only one who knows that. If you were Chanelle, would you tell Omar that he lost his vote, or would you let him go to tribal thinking he has a vote? I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Thanks.
Okay. I think this is one of the most interesting questions going into next week. Now, again, we'll talk about what might come in this 2-hour episode. If we see something like season 41, we should expect 6 people to be safe, 6 people to be up for elimination. So we don't know necessarily who will be in the 6th, but everybody will have the chance to vote like we saw in season 41, presumably. Omar does not know he lost his vote yet.
Yeah, because of Chanelle. And I think that, Chanelle's the least of his problems. So I think Chanelle needs him. So Chanelle needs to come and be like, I think she'll tell him. Like, I feel like she's going to be like, I'm really sorry. The game has not gone super well since that. Actually, really, the moment that they left each other was when it all started going downhill. Ironically, they were at the top of a hill. They give each other information. And they
literally
were just rapidly
and
rolling.
metaphorically.
That was the meta. Yeah, but that's what we had a lot on the stopwatch that week, with them just rolling down the hill. So by the time that she leaves Omar, her game has changed dramatically. So he has to be caught up on a lot of what's going on. And I think that she's going to be like, I'm your vote. Like, whatever you want me to do, I'm so sorry. You don't have a vote. Like, let me be with you. But she's not the only one who knows. Vati will know. Like, Chanelle didn't have a vote. They know how Shipwell Island works. They might use it against him. Because I feel like Vati v Taku could be, if it's going to be a faction game, those could be the 2 big factions. So they have that information. If they could keep Chanelle from telling him, they could exploit it. But I feel like Chanelle, if anything, is out on that. Because she needs him right now. She needs him right now.
So I feel like that. So the Vati tribe, and we know, Hai has been like, the data analyst. Like he's thinking big picture.
Split on the split. I love it. It's
yeah. Great. I'm thinking going into this merge, just to tell you where my head is at, that I think we saw so much in the pre-merge about Jonathan. He put his foot in his mouth talking about the tight 4. and people like complaining about Taku when they don't win when the other tribes don't win the challenges. I think that people are looking that the other two tribes, I think that green and blue are looking at orange.
Okay, when you refer to the tribes by color, it triggers me.
I'm losing you. Okay, I'm
no,
well
so no,
for
I know,
everybody
just
else.
because
Vati,
they red and blue.
Vati and Ika are
Yeah.
looking at I think are looking at Taku, and I think that for Vati, it's like, hey, what they don't know or what they may not know is Omar has lost his vote. And I guess the question could be, could Taku potentially could they recruit enough people to potentially stave off that loss if that's the direction that they go?
I think Taku would win sight unseen. Like I would like assuming those are the two factions, because I feel like Ika are divided enough that you shouldn't necessarily come for them because they're like numbers to pick up. You could pick up Roxroy, you could pick up Tori, you could pick up Romeo and Drea as a pair. Like they're a little bit more versus like the very strong Vati 3. And what I do believe, like, you know, personal drama aside, will be a strong Taku 4. I feel like Taku has like the most like relationships. You know, Lydia and Roxroy got nothing out of that interaction, which I didn't think was great. I mean, this was the Shannon Liana spot last season. Think about what can be gained by, you know, coming right before a merge to Shipwheel Island, and they did not.
Could this have been knowledge is power?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, but because at the time it said it'll be a different advantage, and this time it was just a vote.
Got it.
So I wonder if it would have changed it. But the point is, like, Shannon Liana made like the most important relationship in the entire game on this hike versus we did, you know, different hike to High and Mike, which is the couple name of High and Mike.
Yeah.
Hike. But I think that yeah.
Can I add something real quick on Lydia and Roxroy? In watching the episode again, that Tori is like openly campaigning to go like, I'll go. And like, all right, it'll be Roxroy. And she has like an eye roll from hell when she doesn't get to go. That Tori wanted in on Shipwheel Island bad this week. Yeah,
because Tori would have been like, Lydia, tell me where I got to vote. You know, and like I think she definitely would have.
Tori would have
Why was it Roxroy?
Had an extra vote. Yeah.
Why wasn't it Romeo? Like how? Like that to me was a question mark because they've really got it on lock. Like Romeo should be going to Lydia and being like, we'll team up against these strong Takus, these like Goliathy. You know, so I don't know how they allowed that to happen. They sent their least social person on a social mission when no one has a majority.
I wonder if this was like a makeup call for Roxroy, like heading into the merge of like, hey, you know, Roxroy, you're part of the group. That and I know you watched the secret scenes that Roxroy also caught an octopus. So then I'd be like, I maybe like had ingratiated himself more to the group, and so I felt like. Maybe they're throwing him a bone. Yeah. Where,
like, I don't know. I would. Well, I mean, like, what? Like, I'd rather lose Roxroy by irritating him by not sending him and make inroads with Vati.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, Romeo should go.
Wheel. Yeah.
But I feel like that Romeo's outlook on the game, and we saw it in the episode that he says that, and no, look, Romeo is my guy. That was my winner pick.
It was a great pick. He's in my draft team, Rob. I got him at pick 14. Do you know how good I feel right now?
It's a great value. Yeah. I didn't love it when he talked about how like, hey, I'm like I'm doing so well in the game. Like I feel like I'm teaching Drea. I'm helping her become a better player.
No, I got it. I can tell you why.
Why?
Because I just came off 24 episodes of Australian Survivor where it's like, as a pilot, I'm flying through this game and there's turbulence. He's just making a career. Like, he's a coach. So he's like...
He's an analogy guy.
Yeah, more than Daniel. Are we going to get into Daniel says he's bad at analogies? And like, Daniel, we've heard your analogies. You don't have to tell us. It's fine. Like, we know.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
No, but I feel like he says like to be an even better player. I know people saw that as patronizing, but I think he's just like, I'm the kind of player who tries to lift other players up. And I think he respects how good a player Drea is, but he's a coach. Like that's how he looks at coaching people. Mm-hmm. He and Coach are the same guy.
They're the same. They're the same. Yeah. Okay. So do we think that these we're talking about relationships in the post merge? It's going to be really wild to see how this goes.
Yeah, I think Taku have external inroads that should help them. Being Marianne and Drea are connected on two fronts. We saw nothing of that Shipwheel Island, like, in the relationships, but they were there together. They both get a vote out of it. They have beware. They've like connected over that, which I also love, like the reactions of people when the phrases are being said, and they're like, yes, I totally. When Drea's like, you know, I feel like she really sold just like the trauma, like how the trauma of like, I'm thinking about potatoes, and Marianne's like, yes, Drea. So like they're involved in that together. They connected over that. So I feel like they could maybe bring in Drea and Romeo. You know, Omar has Chanelle possibly. I think they have a lot of options where I don't feel that the Vati 3, because Lydia got nothing out of it. Mike has beware,
but you were forgetting about the advantage amulet, Shannon.
The bounty.
Yes, well,
the one that makes you want to vote each other out.
Well, I think that there could be when they arrive at the merge, like I think that there's almost zero chance that Lindsay, Hai, and Drea get together and say, "Aha, let's work together." Because to do what? Yeah. But I could see 2 of the 3 getting together and targeting, and I'm wondering if Lindsay could be the odd person out.
I thought that last week. I thought Lindsay's going to be the merge boob, but now looking at the dynamics as I am, I think Marianne and Lindsay combined, and Drea's there. They are going against Hai. I actually think Hai is in a problem spot. I was talking about this with Mike Bloom last night, and he was saying, who knows about the amulet? Like, has Hai told Lydia? Has Lindsay told Jonathan? Has Drea told Romeo? These are power players. It's actually funny. The amulet ended up going to 3 power players who all made the merge, which is extremely good for the show. Do their number ones know about the amulet?
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen that they do.
I don't know. I would suspect, I mean, just to talk it through, I would suspect Hai has told Lydia.
Because if he doesn't, that's a lot of information that an enemy can give to try and crack apart an alliance. Like, did you know that your ally has a thing they didn't tell you about? Like, it's not just the bounty, it's also the information.
I would also suspect that Drea told Romeo, considering that Drea told Swati and Tori she had an extra vote for no reason. I would suspect also Drea told Romeo.
But so with all of these advantages being cross-tribe, it's the information that not your number ones have on you, that you can't control who else has the information, which is an interesting thing. We talk about like it being in public and stuff, but it's even just for the amulet, which isn't public. It's someone else having that information. For example, the beware advantage, right? I actually have a bone to pick with you. Well, I was thinking about it. No, not really. It's not a bone. It's just a question. No. It's not. But you were saying like, oh, well, they're gonna ask, where did she find a potato, right? So they're not, because Taku all know about beware, so they know why she's talking about potatoes, and Vati also know. The only 2 people in the game, much like last season, all of this like pomp and circumstance for what I assume is just Roxroy and Tori, but they should be very confused about the potato.
They should be like, very angry. When did you have a potato?
Exactly. So Roxroy and Tori are the only 2 people in the game who don't know about beware. They should be more confused about the potato than anyone. But then I thought, would they or should they tell Roxroy and Tori about beware, knowing that at least at going to that mat, that Taku, at least Marianne knows, like at a merge, Marianne could come up to Tori and Roxroy and say, hey, there's this thing that Drea hasn't told you about. So should they get out in front of it and tell Roxroy and Tori about beware in the knowledge that at a merge, someone who they can't control who has that information, or at least or even multiple people, could tell them instead?
I think they have to have told them at that point, because that there's no way in this season where one of the hardest seasons ever, the survivors have gotten literally nothing. And Drea is talking about how we were eating a potato and peeling a potato. I'm sorry. So say that again.
Maybe they really found a potato.
I don't think that there are any potatoes growing in the wild.
Like maybe production would like roll one in just to like allow her to say her phrase.
Well, maybe because that they, remember in the beginning, in the first episode where Tori was looking for taro. Could Drea potentially say like, oh, I just called them. I forget what it's called. I meant to say taro, and I said potato.
Yeah.
Potato, taro.
Potato. That's what this is. That's the hashtag. If we're still doing hashtags. I guess if I was Rocksroy, I'd be like, I'd stop the whole chat on the mat and be like, come again about you were eating a potato? I mean, I don't think that they should tell Rocksroy and Tori because
They shouldn't.
well, we've learned you don't tell Tori anything. Like the last time Drea told Tori something that went poorly. And also like she can't be mad that she doesn't know because she's lost like any trust.
Mm-hmm.
And Rocksroy doesn't even seem to care when he isn't told things. So they're actually like the perfect two people to leave out. But I think it's just funny how it's always like soccer and everyone other than maybe Rocksroy and Tori know why the phrases are being said. Like we could almost stop down and be like, Jeff, there's no point doing this. Just activate the idols. Like we're all aware. We don't need to talk about soccer. Like it's done. Just activate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the usage? We had a lot of the all of the phrases got said this week. Did you want to stop down on any of that?
Yeah, I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For a few reasons.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you want to go first?
Well, who says it first? I'll go chronologically.
Okay. All right. So Marianne, of course, is going to go into her whole thing. Then okay, so after that,
I actually have a bone to pick with Marianne too.
Yes.
Not like a small. No.
So many bones.
So many bones. Every week, Marianne changes the meaning of the bunny rabbit in the mailbox. Like, be consistent about the fable. That's all I'm
classic story.
Because it was okay. It started being you don't know unless you're in the mailbox. Don't judge a book by its cover, and don't judge until you've walked around someone's shoes. I thought that was pretty beautiful. Then last week it was about I'm not in the mailbox. I don't have any shelter. I'm like. That's not very beautiful and also so different to what you said. And this time it was about being shocked. Just be consistent about what the bunny is doing. All I require is to know why is the bunny in the mailbox? Like, why is it? It's always different. Like,
it's a great point.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. We got to where Drea was telling the story of how they're eating the potato, and of course it was just to that it's making them feel like they're losing it because of what they're doing with the potato. And I'm trying to see, let me see, do I have this clip? Okay. No, I didn't pull anything from her talking about this, but Jeff ends up with asking about how this is changing your relationship.
So it's changing your relationship with food.
I've always loved food, Matt, but like now I think I got to marry it.
Yeah. So for Marianne, she jumps right in on this. Like Marianne, like you didn't have to you don't have to keep like yes-anding with this.
Yeah, I can't believe that Zach got dropped so quickly for food. Like she wanted to marry Zach, now she wants to marry food. Kind of undercuts maybe, how serious she was about Zach. No, but I feel like Drea. I enjoyed Drea's one because I think she like sold the performance the best. She was like, I'm really like starting to doubt my own thoughts and I'm really scared by that. And just the way that she kind of looked out into the abyss to be like,
yeah, good acting.
I thought that was good because she knows she's not a potato, right? But she's selling that she could maybe be wondering if she's a potato. So I thought she did pretty well with that.
So we have Mike then, who then comes, off the top rope. Here's Mike.
There is such grace in the game of soccer that it makes me cry. Now you wonder why I'm saying that.
Yes,
yeah.
we do.
Actually, yes.
And I think that Mike told a very long story, and I think that as I read it,
they had the yada.
Yeah,
it was too long. They're like, this is a major plot point, but we actually don't have the time. In Australian Survivor, maybe, but not in these 42 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Is there anything as aggressively American as Mike's anti-soccer stance? Like, it's a pretty
I think a few things. Yeah.
Global sport.
Pretty much. But
mildly American.
Yeah. Mike doesn't care for the soccer at all. Well, and we'll talk about that more in social media. I guess that we're talking about the potato. Shannon, you have been very vocal. One of the most vocal people about the potato.
One of the most vocal people. Stop the sentence. Yeah.
Yes.
But also, yeah.
So how did you feel this week of because you that. Of course, that we got to see Drea found the third clue, not Tori. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. Well, the first thing is I've been trying to get the Pogato hashtag happening. Not Potato Gate. Pogato, you put it in the word. Why not?
Pogato.
Yeah, Potato, like Potato Gate, but Gate is now in potato.
Mm-hmm.
And then I clicked on the Potato hashtag, and the last person to tweet about Potato was me a year and a half ago.
You tried to make Potato happen then? What was it?
2020.
What?
Okay.
What was happening to make Potato happen?
We did a podcast.
Yes.
About what you need to know about International Survivor. And I think there was trivia and there was something about a potato question. And you complained Jordan Kalish style about the question. I don't remember what the question was, but I should have actually looked it up. But I know that it was Potato Gate. So in my mind, I was like, Potato.
Yes.
And then a year and a half later, there was a different Potato Gate. And I was like, Potato, that's fun and original. And then I clicked on the hashtag and I'm like, who's the last person to be tweeting about
Also
Potato?
you.
Me.
The circle is complete. Yeah.
Me.
So,
do you understand the level of introspection that's required of me? Like, I truly had to, like, it was Drea levels of introspection at that line.
We might say, Shannon, stop trying to make Potato happen. But let's steer into it. When is the Potato merch coming out?
Can we? You tell me. You do the first.
Can you tell us what is Potato merch? Is it like a potato that's like holding a gate? Yeah.
Yeah. It's a no. Yeah. Potato. It would be better if my name was still Gates, but now it's not.
The incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the hashtag for this episode. Potato.
Well, yeah, because there has to be more people in the hashtag than just me a year and a half apart, Rob. I need to step out of the community for a little bit. But Potato. So last week, I did say that I know that people were annoyed about this because they're like, it's not even going to be Tori. But to explain, which I did on the podcast last week, the first episode, they're like, it's clearly not her voice. But in the first episode, I don't have the opportunity to go back and check whose voice is what. Where they lead us to believe it's Tori. The closed captions apparently said Tori. They want us to think it's Tori. You know, an hour later when we go to the tribal council, I haven't gone back to the first 42 seconds to be like, was that Tori? Like, I'm watching in the moment. So definitely spoiled episode 1, right? Like, that's even before we're overanalyzing.
Spoiled potatoes.
Yeah. Potato, but you know, it spoiled episode 1 for me. And for many people, we can't get that back. Then last episode, there had been discourse for what if it's not Tori? But in that, they're like, maybe it'll be like, maybe Lindsay finds it on the other tribe. And like, it could be her voice. But then clearly, the other advantages are found. So I was like, well, it's not Swati or Drea. So I again thought it was Tori. So I again felt spoiled. Then it was like, well, maybe it's a post-production voice, or maybe it's someone on the other tribe reading one of the other clues. And I was like, all right, well, if it doesn't pan out, I'll be more open. I thought, like, if they go back and it's like Tori versus Rox, I'll be more open-minded for the next time. Because as I understand it, there's so much at play here. But in those 2 episodes, and the people I was watching with, our enjoyment was impacted because we were spoiled in the moment. I would have, and now that it was Drea, I said last week, I'm like, I don't know if I'd be more irritated if it was true or I was being trolled. But I will say now, I was still annoyed about it. And I would have way preferred to have just been clear spoiled on Drea finding it than to have had the second option of Tori spoiled for me in 2 episodes. So I just want to give voice to the Potato people, the anti-potato movement. There are many of us. We're here, we're loud, we're irritated. Like, we're important. And for everyone who's like, oh, well, don't overanalyze it. Have you met me? Like, what? Like, I'm gonna not, what? This is my job. So anyway, I got that out.
So I respect everything that you have said and all of the Potato contingent members out there, but I will say that I actually loved everything about it. Like I love that it happened. I love that it happened where people were so sure of like, that's it. And I totally get it. Decoy boot. I totally get it.
And this show is my life.
I totally get it. But that they went out of their way to try to like, okay, let's not spoil who actually found it, but inadvertently like ruined 2 other boots. Totally, I understand. There's no need to explain to me why it was bad.
Well, I'm explaining to many of the listeners.
But to explain myself, I enjoyed it because that people were so certain, and then had the rug pulled out from under them, and to me, that was so unexpected and fun. And so it was like, in a way where it's like, I love it when the unexpected happens on Survivor in a way about something that is not ultimately important. Like, Chris Underwood comes back in and wins the season, but you never saw that coming. Which, in the moment is fun. This to me, I just thought was very, very fun that they at least went to the lengths to try to throw us off.
I like that you're like, Shannon's already riled up. I'll just mention Chris Underwood. We'll just we'll send us completely over the edge. I don't think they were obviously not thinking about it. Like they weren't thinking about.
They didn't think about the decoy boots.
Yeah, they did not think about her being the decoy boot twice. I think that the only so the time that I was most sure it was Tori was all through the first episode when I didn't have time to go back. Then after that, I was like willing to be open to it not being Tori. But then when the other, but then after last week, I was like, I get it. There are YouTube videos. I'm open to it not being Tori, but I can't get that time back. I can't get that 30 minutes of my life back, Rob. And I wish I could, I wish that I didn't read into it. I wish that this wasn't what my mind goes to. I wish a lot of things were different about me, but I'm the kind of person who will care about this.
Yeah. In hindsight, I think the ultimate tell was that when Tori didn't find it in the first episode, and that was what they had in the preview, that I don't think that they that normally, again, maybe people will have like, here's the exception to the rule.
Well, yeah, I do have the exception actually.
Yes. What is it?
Well, they showed Omar and Marianne actually finding Beware legitimately, and it wasn't a fake out, and that spoiled people. This was in the 41 because I didn't read into that because I didn't know the name, and that actually spoiled the Mariah boot for people. So they have done it in this very season. Like they are willing. They're not just trolling you. Like they're willing to spoil you. My question is why? Why even do it? Why? Why was this even a thing?
It's a fair question. So do you think that there was anybody who is watching, like somebody was just joining us in the 5 minutes from the end of season 41's finale? Jeff, so the person said, hey, if you're just joining us, Stu makes the pizza, and then we've got a great season coming up, and then people are like, oh, let me check this out. Oh, okay, it looks good. I like those people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about what did we gain and what did we lose by showing the clip? What we gained was knowing that a potato quote would come up. And as such, I was able to make a potato butterfly meme last week. So we gained something, but we were always going to find out the potato quote. They clearly love that potato quote, by the way, that they're like, people need to know right now that we'll be talking about potatoes. We can't let this go. It's so funny because if potatoes have skin and I have skin, am I a potato? Clearly not. But like the fact that someone could ask that is hilarious. So they want people, what did we lose? Slight bits of my sanity, time, Twitter debates,
like the
having to
peel.
rewatch that clip 15 times.
Pieces of you just peeled away.
And if I can be peeled and a potato can be peeled, am I a potato? Anyway, it actually was funny because, after potato last week, I said, I'm like, no more potatoes, like anti-potato strike. Next night, I'm just eating fries. And my brother's like, that didn't last long. I'm like, I really want some fries. Like, I can't give up potatoes. That's my main food group.
Oh, I had no idea. Another point for potato.
Okay. Well, I'm so unhealthy. I'm a vegetarian and I hate vegetables except potatoes. I like fries. How good are fries? And also potato salad and also mashed potato. Man, potatoes are great.
Okay.
They're great.
Great. Okay. Let's go back to the questions. And so how about
I was like, let's leave Potato.
Let's leave Potato. Okay,
let's
let us get done with things that bother Shannon. Okay.
Things that bother Shannon. Sorry, can we get a theme song for that for my podcast? Because I want that to be a whole segment.
Look, if anybody's out there, this is your wand off for the season. The things that bother Shannon, stinger. Okay, all right, we're done. We're done talking about things that upset Shannon. Here's Phil.
Hey, Rob. This is Phil in Texas, and I think maybe I figured out how to fix the hourglass twist.
No.
We can talk about the hourglass.
I can fix it too. Okay. Trash it. Fixed it. It's done.
Okay, let's hear Phil's pitch.
So instead of sending one of the losers to Hourglass Island to make the obvious decision, why don't we send one of the winners to Hourglass Island And then they now have to decide whether they're going to make the selfish decision to keep the immunity for themselves and their team, or give immunity to the losers, making themselves vulnerable and sending the rest of their team to tribal council. There could be a situation where, somebody might feel secure enough with the people that they have to risk going to tribal council in order to vote out somebody who's on either an opposing tribe or somebody that's just a big threat, like a Jonathan. What do you think?
Okay. All right.
Great point, Phil.
Before we even address Phil's question, okay, Shannon, yes or no? Will there be an hourglass twist in Wednesday night's episode? And what I mean by an hourglass twist is that will the hourglass come back out and with a hammer, and somebody will have to decide whether or not to smash the hourglass?
No.
Okay.
Why no? Because I have to get through my week with some form of optimism. Phil's point, Phil, if someone wins immunity with their... Think about how mad everyone was at Jeff last season. Like, angry at Jeff in ways we didn't even see on the show. Now, it's not Jeff. It's you. And you had been immune, and now you're vulnerable. Everyone will hate that person. No one would make the decision to take away immunity from their their group who earned it, and no one could be mad on the other side. It's like, oh, you kept immunity, yeah. Well, you won it.
Okay.
So who would take away, like, the way that the Erica decision was obvious. This is obvious the other way. No one should do that. And it's
so to all the hourglass haters out there, and Danny included. Let me give you the best piece of, I would say the best thing that I can tell you right now. In season 41, there was a 2-part episode across 2 weeks where our cliffhanger was, will Erica break the hourglass? We had no tribal council. We had a cliffhanger of, is she going to break the hourglass? To be continued.
No, it was so exciting.
We have a 2-hour episode this week, which does not need a cliffhanger. Do you feel like, is that any indication of potentially of that we will not have at the end of hour 1 some like decision point that will impact hour 2?
It could just be commercial. Like, we have a shorter season time. It's like one of the latest start times we've had, right? So it makes sense that in any case, if no one goes home in that first hour, either with a cliffhanger or not, that this is going to be the 2 hour. So I don't think that points to it. I think the thing is that, we always say, like, they didn't get to read the room on what people enjoyed before going back to the season, but they read the room on the hourglass because Danny, like, was so mad.
Hated.
And even in the extremely small sample size, like, they must have seen how much people didn't like that. So that's my hope.
And putting it all in one night is an adjustment they could make on the fly in post-production.
That is true. But I mean, again, it's like episode order. I don't know that they have control over that, and at that point, they're probably just like, there's nothing they can do about it. I think it's gonna be, like, again, like some previews out, like, you earn the merge, which is also completely nonsensical. You earn the merge by getting to the merge, Jeff. We're here, we earned it. But I think that part, by winning immunity, maybe, and maybe it just is the 2-2, the two tribes you compete, those people have earned the merge, and then the other people just have their individual challenge, and everyone votes in the small constricted group for 5 people, 1 of 5 people. But that would be too normal. That's what they should do, obviously.
Yeah, but I think that, so I think we will definitely see 2 groups split into 2, so. and they will compete. Sierra Schultze had said to me, could they compete for a reward? Could they compete for the merge feast?
They really want that merge feast. They were even saying in tribal council how much they want a merge feast. So yeah, there are so many ways they could do the merge better in ways that are exciting. Like, these people are desperate for food, and what they often do in Australian Survivor, and what we said would have been better last time, is they compete for individual rewards. So, for example, they did a challenge at the merge of the last Australian Survivor season, 2 seasons ago now, where it's like an individual challenge, and if you finish it first, you pick, you know, it's like an auction kind of thing. Like you pick what you want, and there's some covered items. You can pick a phone call home, or you get a letter from home, or you could pick a food item. You could pick an advantage. You could pick something covered. That's a fun thing that kind of tests where they're at with like their hunger, however many days in. Like there are fun ways, I think, or they've done, you know, they could do any endurance challenge where they're calling you down for food at the merge instead of the merge feast. So it's like you have the option, but are you going to give up immunity? Like there are so many ways that they can make you earn the merge feast that I think are more fun than just like competing for it.
Yeah.
And then also hourglass smashing it back. But yeah.
How much faith do you have on Wednesday night that do you think that we get through Wednesday night and continue the hot streak for season 42? Or do you think this is like sort of our, you know, inflection point of that people are like, it was going great up until then?
But the hourglass twist didn't ruin season 41. Even I will say that. And also, I love this. It's like, will I be mad next week? That's the question. Which also, will Shannon be mad next week? I really want a theme song for that too.
Yeah.
It didn't run season 41. Like maybe because Sydney went and we were just like less mad about that, or
yeah. Well, in the way that it happened, it was like that there was like we were sort of mad like that we got like a non-elimination episode at the
episode
time.
was horrible.
Right. It was a bad
but it didn't
episode.
ruin the season.
But then the episode that came back, Erica breaks the hourglass, but it was also maybe like one of the most like 2 or 3 exciting episodes from season 41 where the knowledge is power plays out. So we got like an amazing second part of that, which I think really did help take the sting off of people being mad about the execution to get there.
Yeah, I mean, even if they do the hourglass exactly as they did it last time, like I don't think it can ruin the season. It can be super unfair if it gets rid of someone we love. We'll hate that. But then, like, we move forward and it was 1 episode. Like an Australian Survivor, some of the twists were 4 episodes, Rob. 3 to it's
4 episodes.
It was 3, but it was 3, and many of them were over an hour. We're going to be done with it, you know, next week. And if they do it the same way, obviously it's super unfair and it's a horrible twist. But like, I don't think it's season ruining because just like have to deal with it and we'll just move forward from there.
Okay. On the subject of next week's episode, okay, I have a question for you. This is from Becca, who wants to ask you a question about next week.
Hi, beautiful people.
Oh,
my name is Becca, and I wanted to take a second and just shout out Shannon's amazing coverage over on Survivor Global. I love listening to her.
Thank you.
And one of my favorite things is when she comes up with music or a song for the promo that would be airing. And I was hoping she could do it for next week's episode. But yeah, so that's my request. I hope y'all are having a great day. Bye.
okay. Of course, longtime listeners know about the musical talents of Shannon Guss. Are you able to come up with some sort of a what would be the anthem for next time on
week?
Survivor? Yes.
Well, I already did Time Warp in week 1 of Survivor Global because we were just rewatching Survivor 41. I mean, it's definitely Time Warp, right? Like that's the hourglass song. Do you have something else?
Boy. No, I do not.
Well, it's hard because I haven't seen next week's episode. Let's think about this week's episode. Do we have something on potatoes? Do we have something on
Potato?
what happened in are there songs about potatoes?
Not really.
Are there songs about bunny rabbits? Soccer?
Probably like a lot of like fight songs and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're not going to do that. What else happened in this episode? Throwing votes. The songs about that.
Not yet.
What about Daniel? I feel like Daniel's lament. Maybe there's something in that. Songs about shoulders. I'm gonna think. I have to think about it. Daniel is traveling tonight out of camp.
Yes. Very sad.
I can see the red tail light heading out of the game. Oh, and I can see Daniel waving goodbye. Well, it looks like Daniel should have played a shot in the dark. There you go.
I mean, that if too bad he couldn't persuade High.
Yeah. Daniel, the super fan, you are out of the game. We could go on. I could actually do the whole thing.
And I feel like that we're just jamming.
Should have convinced High. Daniel, you're a star. Who is off to Ponderosa? That's
beautiful.
Yeah,
beautiful. Give it up for Shannon Guss. Amazing.
I love how I was like, all right, let me see. I'm like, there actually is a song called Daniel, so I'll just probably go. I went to Potato first. My brain is broken, Rob.
No, yeah, I mean, you it's too full. The mashed potato.
I came up with potato twice.
Yes.
Something needs to be done.
Nothing needs to be done.
Nothing needs to be changed about me.
Let's take another question about going. Let's look a little bit more at the merge, okay? And so let's take a question from another one of our listeners, okay? Sam. Don't believe that this is Sam Moore. Another Sam.
Hey, Rob and Shannon. This is Sam from Chicago. I just wanted to get your take on this 444 tribe flip that we're seeing coming into the merge, especially with who might or might not flip. So in each of these tribes, there's like a strong 3 with maybe someone on the outside, whether that's Tori or it's Marianne or it's Chanelle. And I was wondering, of those 3, what is the likelihood that each of them will flip? And who do you think they would have flipped to? Thanks.
Because it's interesting because some of these potential flippers could be like ships passing in the night, right?
Ship wheels
passing in the night. Yeah,
it's like we all flipped and now we're just back at a 444. Maybe I don't think Marianne's gonna flip. Like I think with Taku, they at least have like the they can pretend they've been unified because they had like the unanimous vote that the others just have not had. So, and I also think, like, you know more than me, Rob, like you've been out there. I'm wondering, like, how would anyone not annoy people out there? That I think like what Taku is suffering from is like, it's a bit boring when you don't go to tribal council. It's just been the 4 of you for so long. I think like, Jonathan has a right to vent in his confessionals. And I think like, wouldn't you find almost anyone annoying in that situation? Like, I don't think this is such a big deal that they find each other annoying. Like, you live together 24/7 and there's no TV. That sounds irritating.
Yeah, I could tell you probably, I don't know why, maybe like the first time we played Survivor, like I think I was like less annoyed in general, but I feel like in the second time, like, I thought like, that there were people in my tribe just talking about food constantly. I thought that was so annoying. People thought I was so annoying. So I do think that I can totally understand why people are getting on each other's nerves when you're out there on Survivor. So you don't buy you don't buy Marianne potentially going in a different direction.
No, I think that like every issue that Taku has is about to be solved. Like they're bored because they're not going to tribal council. Like you're going to go to tribal council. Like they're spending only time with each other. Like there'll be other social avenues for you, but you can still work together as a team. I think that they should not let go of what they have, which is the ability to at least pretend to be united in the way that the other tribes just don't have. So they have something powerful that they should stick with and recruit people to.
Give me the flipper power rankings.
In terms of their power?
Most likely to end up voting against their tribe on Wednesday. Tori number 1.
Chanelle
2. Roxroy. Interesting. I feel like that Roxroy, he's loyal to the soil.
Yeah, because he's a rock.
He's a rock.
Yeah. I've got a lot of rocks puns. Like, oh no, Vati seeing rocks and they're like, rocks again. I don't know. Because they almost went to rocks.
They almost went to rocks.
That's right. I've got a lot on rocks, the name being like rock's the thing. Because I'm the kind of person who would come up with Potato twice. This is the issue
I did say when he in the secret scene where he caught the octopus, I said, is that a rocktopus?
This is why we get along, because that's good. I like how you merge those two words together. I
Like what you
think
said about
what you said
Picado.
about Rocktopus.
Yeah, hardy potatoes.
Hardy potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Sand was great last week, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Great podcast across the board. But I think with Shipwheel Island, this is the loss for me when we're talking about the lack of social opportunity, like the way that that Lydia and Roxroy both didn't make that connection. I feel like Roxroy, for himself, he should be wanting to flip because he's not been a part of that thing. He doesn't have like good connections. Like they blindsided him and they didn't even blindside Swati. Like she played a shot in the dark, but he got blindsided. So that's kind of crazy. But I think if Roxroy was maybe a different type of player and if Lydia could capitalize on that, there's a world in which she has, because Shipwheel Island is so easy to negotiate in game, like she has made that connection, given him an extra vote that he can use with them. But I do believe that Roxroy is just way too old school a player, so maybe he's not flipping. I think Marianne for me is the lowest. I think Tori told us to our faces.
But where could Tori go?
Anywhere. She can go anywhere. Wherever. But I do think Tori. So there's two types of. So they've been in these small little tribes of 6, right? Where like throne vote can matter so much, and it's all these like little individual moves and like these small kind of little groups, and then they get to a 12. So is it going to be factions as we're talking about, or is it going to be what it can be when it's okay? Well, let's just be a big consensus and just take out a consensus pick. And I think Tori would be that pick because no one is protecting Tori, and at least Chanelle might have like Omar to pick her up.
Right. Like it could be a scenario next week where, okay, you have sort of like only a certain number of people are vulnerable. And then we also have like, oh, but who has idols? Okay, don't put the like last time out was Nasier a potential person that was up for a vote? And
no.
he was not one of the 6.
Well, everyone was in the 6 eventually. Like Nasier.
Yeah,
Nasier was up for the vote
because they said they brought him to the merge feast.
And then they weren't.
But they didn't vote for him because he had an idol. So I wonder maybe could there sort of like be like built-in people that won't be targeted because of that they have idols, they have advantages, and so and somebody's going to win individual immunity. So that's 6. I think that's down to 5. So Tori could conceivably be a person who, if she's vulnerable, isn't one of the like known advantage people.
It's just so hard because it's who's in the 5. Like,
and who would play an idol for her?
No one.
Yeah.
I think if Tori's an option, if they have an out, which they didn't have last time, because their out was Erica or even maybe a Heather, which I think they would have taken. Sydney became the out, but there were still like concessions being made on that. I think if they have an out, they'll take it. If Tori's vulnerable, like we can all agree on Tori. Even Chanelle, possibly, unless like Omar really wants to invest in that connection. But if those kind of people aren't vulnerable, we only have 5 people, assuming that's what we have, then I think they could get snookered into the faction game of taking out a big threat. Like, what if it's High who's vulnerable? Are they just taking the shot? I think it's going to depend on.
And will the advantage amulet play into any of that? Like, are people trying to save him, or does he become more likely of a target?
Yeah, I mean, I think the amulet. It's been discussed. Like, there's no advantage. Like, it's just a pure bounty. With like the we're gonna work together and get an extra vote. Let's do that. Play this and not even have the opportunity of an idol. I think it's a pure bounty. I think if you're going to play the faction game and these kind of warring tribes are going to pick up numbers and come against each other, it makes sense to take out the person with the amulet. So that's the target of the groups. Yeah.
Okay, Shannon. I love getting your predictions for Wednesday. First off, hourglass. Yeah, are we seeing an hourglass? Yes or no? Is there a literal hourglass that we see in the episode?
No.
No. Okay. No hourglass, Shannon says.
And Tori's gonna find the beware advantage, right?
Tori finds the beware advantage. I'm trying to think. If I had to go, my official pick, do we get an hourglass? I will also say no. I think it's a new MacGuffin.
Like what?
Well, look at the logo, Shannon. Okay, so we have a key, which
the key is the amulet.
But what's the lock?
Okay, so we get a lock, but instead of unlocking it, we just have to shoot an arrow at it.
Maybe we get like a Pandora's box of like Jeff comes to the person that's on Exile Island. It's like, all right, in this box is something could be. It's like the beware advantage. It could help
box,
your
the
game,
box.
could
Yeah.
destroy it.
Yeah.
Here it is. Here's the key.
Take the box.
If you
That's
open
fun.
if you open it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like you can have immunity or what's in this box. And I would take the
Yes.
box.
Mhm.
And then the box is like we reset the season or something
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
the beginning. Bring back
Like,
that.
okay, the group that your group that was safe is now not safe because you opened the box. Like, could it be sort of like
that's
a
literally what they did last.
reverse it though?
season.
Reverse
Yeah.
it where it's like, okay, Erica, you smashed the hourglass, now you're
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah.
Oh, idiot, you opened the box, you made your whole group not safe now.
Yeah, but it's tempting to open a box, right? Like in general, like I think that's what humans
Everybody
and
opens
cats
the
have
box.
in common. Yeah, you want to open a box.
Okay, so no, and Rob says no hourglass too. Okay, all right. Then the second question I have for you, Shannon: yes or no? On Wednesday night, we will see our first live tribal. And by live tribal, I mean people walking around,
Sit down.
talking, huddling.
Yeah.
No live tribal. Okay.
Because
we
I
haven't had
think
one yet in season 42.
But there's so much that needs to happen with blind sides. Like there's 3 idols floating around. There's amulets. I think we need to stop the conversation. We need to find a target, and we just need to just go with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think yes. We get our live tribal. Shannon.
What are we betting on these things? Notes app apologies. Where is Gabby's notes app apology?
I don't know. I
She's
think
so wrong on Shot in the Dark. Just immediately proven wrong.
Shannon, I have not kept up with Australian Survivor, as I'm sure many listeners would know. Are the live tribals a commonplace in Australian Survivor?
No, much less. It was happening a bit this season. Actually, in the 1 week you covered, there was a live tribal. More than 1 week, first week that you covered, there was someone who walked around, but a little bit. But there's so many twists in Australian Survivor, like in the middle, and they'll just kind of be whispering to each other. And we did see, some, especially more this season, because twists were happening in the middle of tribal council. People leaving tribal council. We're going to vote again now, and even then, like there's like slight whispers, if anything. I feel like it would be a much longer. That, you know what I said? Everything was longer in Australian Survivor. Live tribals are not. They're much more subtle, if even happening, in Australian Survivor, which I actually really appreciate. Maybe we just don't have like the audacity to just get up. Like there's a little bit of like respect to the process, which is great, I think, because aren't we all a little done with live tribals? So
just to go back to the flippers, Tori, we think, is most likely to flip, and she can go to whom? Anywhere.
But probably
any port in a storm.
I think that it's going to be Vati v Taku. So she'll just go wherever the others don't go, maybe.
Okay, so she's going to go with the opposite place of wherever her tribe
But
goes.
We know that Jonathan doesn't like her.
Yes,
because he said the blonde-headed girl.
Yes, and she doesn't like Jonathan.
Does she not like him?
I mean that she referred to him as like, because they only won because they have a Goliath over there.
Yeah, I mean it was a fair point, but he didn't like that she called him a Goliath. So he's already I didn't like that blonde-headed girl saying that about me. Who would she like naturally connect with? It's hard because we've seen Tori connect with
Lydia?
No one. Why?
I don't know. I feel like they're close in age. You know that Tori is able to bond with young women like nothing.
Yeah. Who do you think has seen Harry Potter? So maybe we should chart. Because 79%
Tori
of people
play Nintendo Switch?
I don't see the connective tissue on Lydia and Tori that maybe you're seeing. I think who do you think will have seen and read Harry Potter? Most people obviously have.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? Well, Marianne, she's probably seen Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe she'll like that. Do you think that Lindsay's seen Harry Potter?
I'm not as sure, but where are Drea and Romeo going? If she's flipping against a tribe, they can't flip to the same people.
Maybe they will. They'll awkwardly be in the same alliance, but they just won't talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be like, well, we're kind of
yeah.
Because I think Drea should go with Marianne.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if they have a good thing going where it's like Dre and Romeo pick up like another tribe, like I can't see that why Tori would flip away from the numbers.
Yeah, because whichever tribe picks up Ika, the rest of Ika will have a majority. So if Tori's on the other side, she's just, well, I refuse to go with you. It's like, well, now you're in the minority.
Yeah, it's like I want to flip so bad.
Yeah.
I'm flipping out of principle. Like she doesn't have to flip this week.
Yeah. And I don't know that she has an issue with, she wants to specifically flip against Roxroy. Like she hasn't even saying anything negative about Romeo and Drea, who did stick with her to vote out Swati.
Yeah, so there could be maybe like a Chaos Cass and Sarah Lucina thing where that if one of the groups is open to like, hey, like who do you want to target? Roxroy. Okay. Then she could go in like whatever group wants to go after Roxroy.
Yeah, but no one's going to be going after Roxroy. I think the best thing that Tori could do would be to chill out a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, yes.
Would be to just
Facts.
like find a friend and just chill out, because she is, I definitely think, in danger of like no one cares enough to protect her, which you can't say for most other. I mean, Chanelle for sure, but I think Omar maybe will, and obviously Taku want to protect Marianne.
Yes.
Like she's the loosest number on the whole board.
Okay, well, what about Chanelle, who can't be that far behind?
Omar should be picking up Chanelle.
Okay, so you think Chanelle could potentially also go to Taku?
Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, Vati wants Chanelle gone. Like, as Hai said, like, they're the fat of the tribe. And he wants to cut the fat. And it's the same thing. Like, it's very similar to what Drea was saying. Hai's like, I'd love both of them to go. Drea said the same thing about Tori and Swati. But so I think she's gone from Vati. But I think if Omar could play this right, he'd be like, hey, thanks for that extra vote. And she'll be like, so good news and bad news. The bad news is you don't have a vote. Also, that went terribly for me. Story time on that. But the good news is, like, I'm totally with you and I'm so sorry. That's what I think that they should be picking that up.
Okay. So in this scenario, we're sort of like sketching out. Okay. Tori potentially to Vati? Nobody wants her.
Tori is not connected with a person yet. Like
nobody wants her.
It's impossible to predict like who will.
Okay, Chanelle to Taku. Okay,
yeah,
that gives them potentially 5, but then
6.
With Marianne's extra vote. But Omar doesn't have a vote.
Oh yeah, this season is ridiculous. I actually have this written down for this reason. Let's see how many votes everyone has.
And then would the rest of Vati partner up with Ika, or are Hai, Lydia, and Mike in more trouble than we might imagine?
I think Hai is in trouble. I think Hai is in trouble because I think that Marianne and Drea have 2 connective points of Shipwell Island and Beware. So I think that could be a connection.
Right.
So I think it's going to come down to the external connections we've seen that Taku have versus their inherent threat level. Like we haven't seen Vati and Ika's possible connective points, but their connective points are just being anti the Goliath of Taku. So is that just like we got to take down whoever from this tribe, whether it is Jonathan from a physical perspective, whether it is Lindsay with the amulet, whether you know that Marianne has Beware split on her. I think that there are a lot of options there. But I think relationship-wise, Taku has options. But also just assuming that Ika are the swings, which is just a big assumption to make.
And so in this scenario, the merge boot could be potentially Hai?
I think so.
Oh my God.
I could see the big names for me standing out. Tori, if they just like an out. Hai, big threat, doesn't have an idol, has the amulet, doesn't have a ton of numbers, has Chanelle flipping, going to give all the information. And then Lindsay.
Yeah.
Lindsay being like, assuming maybe Jonathan, or he probably, I don't know if he's going to give up immunity with the way that immunity was reversed. Like, Jonathan's obviously always a target. So those are like the 4 names for me that are the biggest fear factors.
All right. Marianne, one of the people that we're talking about, she had a lot going on in this episode. She got into it with Jonathan. Of course, Marianne gives us a lot on the show every single week, and we appreciate it.
Love Marianne.
Did you catch any of what Marianne was talking about this week?
I assumed you'd be pulling it. I've listened to enough feedback shows. So
So she talks quite a bit about playing Mario Kart on with Lindsay. She's so good. She plays this herself. Shannon, are you a Mario Kart person?
I play Mario Party.
Mario Party. Okay.
I'm really bad at Mario Kart, and I'm okay at Mario Party.
Yeah. And so,
who's your Mario avatar? Like, who do you play as?
I often will be, a Wario. A shout out to the post show recaps, but also a Waluigi. I feel like underrated.
Okay, I'm always Bowser.
Yes, but he's very slow.
But
slow on the acceleration.
Strong.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you something so niche about me, and it's this. I'm not very good at Mario Party, but I am the world's best Slapperazzi player. Do you know Slapperazzi?
Oh, yes.
The mini game?
Yes.
I don't lose at Slapperazzi. Now, usually because I'm Bowser, I get in there. So Slapperazzi, for people who don't know, is a mini game in Mario Party. It's like a core part of my personality, how much I love and I'm good at Slapperazzi. Specifically just this mini game.
Mm-hmm.
So people are taking a photo and you all have to be the person mainly in frame. So I'm Bowser, I push everyone out of the way. I'm in frame and I don't move. Now I can win Slapperazzi when not playing as Bowser. I will win it. I can do it even as really small characters, but I'll definitely crush it when I'm Bowser. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad people know this thing about me now. Slapperazzi forever. It's the best game. It's the best mini game. I just play Slapperazzi for 2 hours. How good is Slapperazzi?
Oh, you play the mini games, just not even in the main game.
Well, in the main game, when they choosing between them, and I'm like, Slapperazzi's there, and then it's not Slapperazzi. But then after we play the main game, I'm like, can play a few rounds of Slapperazzi because I love Slapperazzi.
Yeah. I'm often in the position in the Mario Party of having to, I'm playing against my kids and they're very sore losers. And so I'm trying to throw the game and it's kind of a tough game to throw. Yeah. It is sometimes difficult to throw it. It's something by accident.
Was she never threw anything. I think maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, I don't know. Something happened where I'm obsessed with winning. So something went wrong along the way. Either my mom was throwing or not, but either way, my competitive gene was not even now, my mom and I, so Peter and I do the Wordle together every night.
Oh, well, what that relationship goals?
Yeah, that's our time. And my mom does the Wordle and we're very competitive on the Wordle. She'll be like, Wordle in 5.
Who got it faster?
Suck it. Got it in 3. Sad for you. And we'll critique each other's guesses and it gets pretty contentious. Anyway, thank you for letting me live here for a couple months, Mom. But anyway, my point is that I don't even know what Slapperazzi to Wordle. The point is that I need help.
Well, while you're on Wordle, can I tell you that I got an email recently, and I don't know if this is appropriate or not to do, but I got an email last month that I haven't done anything with. But somebody emailed me and said that they created a Survivor Wordle idea. Okay,
I'm into it. I love both of those things.
They called it Servdle, but
we could do
better. We could do better. Wendell, I think we could probably we could do better. We could do better.
We could do better than Wendell.
Idle, yeah.
Is there a Pagato of Wordle survive?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So. Yeah. Are you interested in a round of Servdle?
Times a million, Rob. Times 100 million. Yes.
Okay.
Is it 5 though? Because some of the ones are more letters. 5 letters.
Yeah. So they give that we're gonna give you a I don't know I don't know how you would do it. Okay.
It's hard on the podcast.
Okay. How about this? I'll give you a season. They have season cluster. Okay.
Okay.
We have sex, opening tribe color, age, votes against, final placement.
This is starting to just sound like trivia.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Well, I can work that out from just that information. But sure.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Here we go. Okay. This is the season cluster is we're looking for female season cluster 15 to 21, age 61.
Oh, I thought that was gonna get the finishing placement. Oh, that's the Wordle.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, and then the next time I get so 61. Oh my gosh, this is harder than okay. I
Is
can't
this
think of
good?
any,
Should
any
Servdle be a
person.
thing?
Okay, I understand now what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I really need Peter. We do it together. Can I go wake him up and ask him? Okay.
Man, I think call your brother before Peter.
Yeah. Peter doesn't like when when I say things like, yeah, I'd have Jason as my loved one. He's like, no, but Jason would be my phone a friend right now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
He's just not in the room next to me. So 61. Who is 61? I'm thinking maybe in Gabon was anyone 61? I can't go through all the seasons right now in my mind.
All right. So you have to. Do you want to just say any name, and I can tell you if it's a yellow or green?
I can't even think of anyone who would be 61. It's gonna be because I can't do it because it's gonna be really insulting. Like, did you have to give me someone 61?
Okay, they were okay. All right, I'll give you then.
40.
All right.
Like what?
All right, their original tribe buff color is red.
Well, there's no one on villains who's. I think it's from Fong. Fong? Is that's a good one. In Gabon's the season, I know one of the leagues. Is it?
That is
am
green.
I right?
That is a green guess. Yes.
Ooh, I'm warm. I'm warm.
Yes. Hot.
There's someone on that tribe who's 61,
Hotter.
and I don't know who it is. Jillian.
Yes.
Okay. I knew it would be a Gabon thing.
You did it. Now let's see how fast your mom can get it.
Yeah. Suck it, Mom. She's never gonna get that in 2 guesses. She hasn't even seen that season.
She beat her mom at Servdale.
My mom has seen every season other than Gabon and Tocantins, much like Marianne.
Yeah.
Because they weren't on Australian TV or we couldn't find them. Or
Yes.
whatever.
Excel Shannon or anybody else who wants to work on this, that I can put you in contact with the person who invented Servdale.
No, that's actually so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I will. Yeah, that was really fun.
Okay. All right.
I got it right, so I enjoyed it.
You got it. You got it right. Okay. So
we're
talking about
61
at the time of playing. Yeah. Okay. So all right, we're talking about everything going on with Marianne. Marianne, that she's like we talked about this on social media. She's had a lot of bad experiences, I guess, traveling.
And then I lost it on the airplane to San Diego on Friday the 13th, and I cried so bad.
So be careful when you're traveling on Friday the 13th. You could lose your Nintendo Switch.
I don't think she was. I think she was that was her Nintendo Switch. Is that from the same conversation?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Well,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Marianne. Sorry for you.
Marianne, sorry for you. Okay. So she's going through everything, and listen to this. This is how she signed this off.
That is the Taku News at 7 a.m. Thank you guys, and make sure you tune in.
Was that a Rick Devens shout out?
Well, she's seen that season.
Yes, she's seen
that
season.
Does Rick Devens just own the news? It's a news shout out. He doesn't own all news.
Listen to the sign off, Shannon. Is that not the Rick Devens signature sign off? Okay. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's also just news.
Yeah, but I mean, then let me see if I have the Rick Devens news clip. Rick Devens breaking news is let me see. It's been a minute since I had went to my okay, here. Dun 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 dun.
Wow, they're identical. We solved it. That is a Rick Devens shout out. How did she get it so on key?
It is. And because it was not because a couple of weeks ago she was doing that's different.
A couple of weeks ago she was doing Disney Channel.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you know you are a little bit older than me?
Mm-hmm.
You weren't watching Disney Channel at the time. Marianne was watching Disney Channel. That's what it is. Hey, I'm Hilary Duff, and you're watching Disney Channel. Do you know what I'm talking? That's what. Okay.
I thought she was talking about how that that you're watching CBS.
Well, she can't say Disney Channel because she's on CBS.
Okay.
Yeah, so she stole the Disney Channel, and she was saying CBS. But that is 100% what she was doing, because I know from being a millennial that she's A, seen Harry Potter, and that she B is referencing that Disney Channel thing.
Okay.
Yeah, like, hey, I'm Raven Simone, and you're watching Disney Channel. That was like the easy breezy cover girl of my childhood.
Yes.
Wasn't every kid doing that?
I guess so. You heard it here first.
Dun 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 dun.
Okay.
References for days, Marianne. I love it.
Shannon, and then we saw the incident that happened with Jonathan and Marianne. Jonathan went out in the ocean. He came back. He had a bunch of sticks. He was cutting them. Did you, in breaking this down, okay, who was right, who was wrong? Who had the right of way?
He
Who
did
had the right
hit
of way
her
there?
foot. So when he's like, I didn't hit your foot, like he did hit her foot.
He did. I think he did hit her foot. Now, this is what Marianne said.
And then
But
you put
this
your
is
toe
my
underneath it.
workspace. You came into my workspace.
You're walking back and forth.
Because it's all my workspace.
Now, I have to say, in my time on Survivor, we didn't have cubicles.
It was open plan.
We just had like community space. There was no area that was designated any particular player's workspace.
Yeah.
But perhaps the Taku tribe has been divided in such a way so that everybody has their own section.
That's kind of adorable, just thinking of them just typing away at fake computers.
Their workspace.
Down the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
She seems like she's claimed a lot of workspace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is all my workspace. That's the whole area.
What work is she doing?
That's a good question. I mean, it's good. You got a lot of time out there. People, this is the new generations, young people, always hustling. You know,
They're
take a break,
hustling.
Marianne.
Yeah, take a break.
Yeah, what's she doing? I mean,
working.
Probably something delightful. Working on whatever she's. Because Marianne's a star.
Hey,
like,
he's like, hey, I got news in 10 minutes. Okay, you're in the newsroom, buddy.
Jonathan's trying to walk past. She's like, we're on set right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You not get in front of the fake cameras, and Jonathan's like, this tribe is losing it.
I'm about to go live.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
What if her next reference is coming to you live from my apartment? It's Marianne.
Wow. Oh, could you imagine?
Can you imagine?
Never. They'd be cut instantly.
No, because they won't know it's a reference. Like how you didn't know it's a Disney Channel reference. So like they don't want to reference you, but they won't know that they are. So
yes, if somebody can sneak it in, that'd be pretty epic. Okay. Let's see what else. Okay. Let's talk about the reward that they got. Jeff had a covered item at the reward challenge this week.
Yeah.
Okay. And basically the survivors got a chance to guess at what it was. And so we heard some interesting guesses, including this one from Mike. Did you catch this?
Food and sauce.
Food and sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wanted something cooked.
They wanted something. Yes. And that's what Mike was hoping for.
Yeah.
Food and sauce.
Without the sauce, what's the point?
Yeah. Is sauce food? Is that redundant?
Sauce isn't food. No, you couldn't eat it as its own meal.
Mm-hmm.
You could eat it with potato.
Oh, I mean, the sauce is ketchup in some places, right?
Is this a reference?
Mm.
Like sauce is, I mean, yeah, any topping is good with a potato.
Mm-hmm.
Potatoes can be eaten in a myriad of ways, which is what makes it good.
Yeah. So yeah, Mike specifically wants food and the sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It'd be a great reward.
Food and sauce.
Well, to be fair, last week they won the fish, which did not come with sauce. So he wants, yeah.
Did they have the spices?
Rob, I don't know what rewards people win. Like you could trivia me on like any other season, Bootless, Final Tribal Council.
Wordle?
Wordle,
yes.
Right. Okay, so that we can do on rewards of this very season. I don't think I could tell you. I remember the fish.
Yeah.
They win. They win like a chair. I don't know.
I don't think they've won a chair yet this season. That could be next week. Okay. And then Shannon, after the challenge was over, okay, so Jonathan won the smaller tarp for his tribe by finishing the slingshot, and he had this exchange with Jeff.
Smaller, but it will get the job done for sure.
Amen, Mr. Jeff.
Mr. Jeff.
Mr. Jeff.
Still not used to it.
He's still not used to Mr. Jeff.
Who could be? Who could be?
Now, why is obviously he's not used to it because no one has ever said that before. But why would that be the response? I'm still not used to that. Like it's not like his first day of teaching and they called him Mr. Probst. Like, please, Mr. Probst is my father. Call me Jeff.
Well, clearly Jonathan's been calling him Mr. Jeff all season, and that's why he's still not used to it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's why Jeff is still not used to Jonathan calling him Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, like coming from Australian Survivor, I've had to try and find out nicknames that pop out of nowhere and try to work that out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very well versed in just trying to find the origin of nicknames now.
Mm-hmm.
And Jonathan's been calling him Mr. Jeff since day one. We're just seeing it now.
Okay. Has anybody in Australian Survivor called Jonathan Mr. Jonathan?
Mr. JLP.
Mr. JLP.
No, Mr. Jonathan.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that we saw. I mean, we don't see a lot in Australian Survivor.
They might have cut it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take another voicemail from our friend Megan, the librarian, has a question. Okay. Here comes Megan.
Hi, Rob. Hi, Shannon. This is Megan, the librarian, calling. So this season got really morbid all of a sudden. First, we had people at Tribal Council talking about who's going to die first. And then in the preview, they showed Jonathan saying he's going to fight till he's dead. Pretty dark stuff. So I want to go in a bit more optimistic route here and ask you, which Survivor players do you think are most likely to live to be 117 years old?
Okay.
And you can't say Mike because that's cheating.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Wow.
This is still a little morbid because then we're going to have to veto some people. So, yeah. Who are the healthiest survivors or the most...
Hai is, first off, vegan, has a skincare routine, is in great shape.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know about any
out there.
Like what their genetics are. I feel like I'm not like, if I can get records of every player, well, who's really old? Like who's close to it? Who's the oldest living survivor?
I would say, that's a good question. I would say, is it Sonia?
Yeah. Sonia's had breast cancer, but she fought it. And I think that's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll say right now, Sonia outlives all of us. Okay.
I didn't become a Survivor analyst to be able to predict when people are gonna die.
Yeah. Okay.
I
don't think we're we're talking about who's gonna live forever.
Yeah, but but then we have to have a discussion about it.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying.
Now, I guess what constitutes living? Because Christian Hubicki could be the first to have his consciousness transferred to artificial intelligence.
I thought you were going to say, like, even if they live to 117, are they really living? Like, how much?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Christian's definitely going to come up with some sort of robot that has his brain or, like, his head in a jar, like in Futurama. So I think he's likely to have his head in a jar. What other predictions do I need to make on this podcast about?
I think we're good. Okay. All right. Shannon, I have some moments from this week in social media. Anything else from the episode proper from your notes that you want to make sure we address?
Well, I actually did want to. Well, I wanted to do the Chizzy. We have to do the Chizzy.
Oh, the Chizzy. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay.
But more than that,
yeah.
We will do the Chizzy.
Yeah.
But I got some stats that I have to mention because
Please.
I manually counted them and it took me a very long time.
Yes. Okay.
So, because Drea says she found an idol, and she's like, in the new era, women are finding idols. And I remember, Rob, that we did the know-it-alls for this merge of season 39. I don't really remember much else about that episode and that night, but I do remember us talking about the Angelina curse. Angelina talked about women finding more idols. And then at the time, women were getting voted out with the idols, and that was the curse. So I looked at the stats on this. So, because Drea's talking about the new era of women finding idols, we can do hot or cold.
Oh, yes. Actually, I have the clip to set this up. Okay. So let's see. We have talking about the okay, this is Drea in the episode.
So kudos, women in the new era, Survivor 2.0, we can find idols too.
Okay, so kudos to all the women out there finding idols.
Yeah. So here, I've got a couple of stopping points. Let's say Angelina's idol is the last idol of the old era, because Angelina was the one talking about it. I also have the stats for including season 38 because they didn't see her talk about it. Okay. My hypothesis is that the conversation is the main differentiator because let's do the stats first. What do you think were the stats of women finding idols, including and before Angelina? Percentage.
Percentage. So I feel like it was talked about. I would say that women found, I think, I'll say 16.66666% of the idols prior to season 38.
Yeah, it was 18.18%.
Okay.
Very good. And what do you think they found since Angelina's idol?
Okay.
Not including 38 on.
From 38 on. So let me just think it through. Lauren was finding them, and Kelly was finding them, and Janet found idols, and Kim found idols, and Tony and Ben were out there too. Denise found an idol.
Natalie
what's that?
It also includes Natalie, like buying advantages.
Okay, got it.
Use the data quite a bit because Natalie is all over the charts.
Yes. And then I'll say 60% of the idols have been found by women now.
61.1%. Rob, you were within 2%.
It's almost like I watch this show for a living.
It's almost like you went through and manually counted every person who found an idol and how many of them were women and then converted it to a percentage last night.
Mm-hmm.
Friday night.
So Shannon, I get it. Your point is, how do we help the men get back to having it be even on Survivor? And you know what, Shannon? I don't think that we should be worried about that.
Yeah, some people will do it. That was a big part of the most, and not just but Australian Survivor. It was like, because women do have some sort of like beta type of players, social players have done better in Australian Survivor. So the men were like, well, we got to kind of fight against this. And I was like, well, it's been 6 seasons and the women haven't, it's not that much, but already the pushback was coming. So I don't even know how to have this conversation, but if you include 38 in that, because they hadn't seen Angelina have the conversation, it's 19.6% to 67.8%. My theory is because the show didn't change anything. Ironically, the only thing they changed was they made the idols less powerful now at the time when women are fighting more. That's not why they're doing it, but it is kind of ironic.
Yeah.
And then the fire tokens, but you still have to find fire tokens. So that was like the biggest differentiator. My thought is that the conversation is what radically changes those stats. And also like Natalie skews it, bit of a smaller sample size, but there's clearly something going on.
Well, in season 38, I think I'm sorry.
No, but just more people have found, more women have found idols in the past, since season 38 than the 20-something seasons before that.
Yeah. Well, it just so happened in season 38, you happen to have as one of the returning players, Kelly Wentworth, who naturally happened to be one of the most prolific women idol finders who had played. So that was a big part of her game already. And then Lauren, who was her protege, was also like, playing a Kelly Wentworth type game. So you happen to have 2 women in that season who were pretty good about going out and finding the idols anyway. So it almost didn't matter that they hadn't seen that conversation. And then, it did sort of get like baked into the show at that point.
Yeah. And I think that is something I just wanted to mention, because I think it's really interesting that like we saw the way that the conversation impacted last season. Like I've been going on about like the gender divide and how women can't win, but like the players were aware of that in a way that we thought could be quite damaging, because Ricard said to Shan, well, usually women don't win, but you might, so I need to take you out. But also it helped Erica in that juries were aware of maybe just kind of the way that we evaluate games. And should we reevaluate? Should we, see things in a different light? Let's look at that differently, and the precedent that's being set. And that conversation seeps into the players. So I think what's interesting is that the stats aren't in a vacuum. You know, we have a conversation about it and then it evolves from there. And while the show, I don't think, is like changed hiding places, because Drea says like, oh, women are usually like tending to the fire and the rice. And that's been the issue for so long, was that men are the hunter-gatherers, and they go out and they can also look for idols, while women are like doing the in-camp chores because of, I don't know, society and like base instincts. But I think having the conversation maybe push women to think like, well, wait, if there's such a gap, I have to push myself beyond that to kind of go beyond social norms to find idols. And with that, acceptance comes. And with that, we kind of like progress that. And I think that is what's happened. So I think it's just really interesting because those stats are so different. And I truly believe it's just like our part in the conversation and the players hearing the conversation and having fans who are aware of the stats, the fact that Drea can even call that out. I just thought it was really fascinating. So yeah, I just wanted to give those stats because it took me like 40 minutes.
Yes, this was your triangles.
That's how it felt at the time. I made Peter come and I was like, Peter, I keep getting like 2 different numbers for this. And then he counted and he was wrong, which was really irritating. Like, no, now I need to count it 3 more times. So yeah. Stats.
Shannon, is this only Survivor 2.0, as Drea said? I feel like this is like Survivor 6.0, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess it was like the reboot.
If anything, this is like Survivor 2.1, right? Drop the 0. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, look.
2.01 at least.
And she hasn't even seen how idol finding went for women last season. So
right.
She's only considering herself. And I guess Marianne, she knows Marianne has found it. So she knows them too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think since Angelina, I don't want to say started the conversation because that's not right either. We've been having the conversation for a long time, but she really put it into focus and we talked about it so much. And I just think that maybe society progressed with that. Like we saw it, we acknowledged it, and the players in different ways, just maybe the way that women are accepted to play in a different way, the way women had to push themselves beyond the barriers that are created for them, which is unfair, but they had to do it. I think that's what happened. So let's see how the trend continues, because right now, yeah, the odds are in the women's favor.
Okay. All right. Shannon, should we talk about who is awarded all of the Chizzy points? Speaking of counting.
Yes, I love to count.
All right. Here we go. It's been a wide open season. Let's see who is getting all the points this week.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's getting kind of Chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
Okay. All right. Shannon, for the uninitiated, can you explain how the Chizzy points work?
Yes, I feel like I get this question a lot on social media. Clearly it's from my podcast, but basically the Chizzy started off being like the fishy, named for Matt Chisholm, host of Survivor New Zealand, which is what I started covering. But we do it and we give 3 points to the best player, 2 points to the second best player, 1 point to the third best player of the episode, and then we calculate it all in charts because that's the way that they judge Australian sport, and that's how we do our sports awards for the big national sports in Australia. So yeah, we've got charts and we give points. And then we give honorable mentions. Rob, do you have an idea of what your Chizzy points are going to be?
Yes. I've been I think this was a tough week to do the Chizzy points.
I felt like it was pretty clear.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, how should we proceed?
Well,
this is your segment. You host the segment.
No, what? No, I'm a guest here.
Okay.
But
I feel like that I'm a guest. I'm a guest here. This is the analogy. I'm going to be an analogy guy. I feel like that you're like the mom of the family, okay, and you make Thanksgiving every year, okay, and now you're here in my that. Okay, and now it's my first Thanksgiving with my family. You've come as a guest, and you're like, go ahead, make the turkey. You know what to do. Make the stuffing. Let's see. Put it out. It's like, I'm not gonna do it right.
That was a slightly better analogy than I am to a fisherman, or whatever Daniel said, as a fireman as is to a arsonist.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Let me see. Yeah, Daniel says, hey, look, I'm not the analogy guy. He also is the same guy who says this.
I'm as much a natural fisherman as a arsonist is a natural fireman.
Is that a simile?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it's not wrong.
Mhm.
It's like they repel each other. An arsonist
Yeah.
would repel putting that fire out.
Yes. Also, I feel like that Jeff kind of put Daniel in a bad spot. This was a tough question from Jeff.
Daniel, let's go with High's idea. Somebody's being lied to.
Okay.
Give me an analogy from your world where
geez.
lying is fun. It's part of it.
I should be honest with you, Jeff. I'm not an analogy guy.
Yeah. Daniel, you're a lawyer. You love to lie, right? Lying is fun for you in your work, right? All lawyers are liars, right?
Yeah, I actually get why he might have pushed that question, try to retain some employment.
Like, objection, Your Honor, leading the witness.
Yeah, that's the analogy. You could have that's where it might have come in handy. You could have said that. What is the podcast equivalent? Daniel to fisherman, arsonist to fireman, podcaster to what is the
okay, I'm trying to follow the question. Okay. Daniel to Daniel to fisherman.
Podcaster to
okay. So if I was gonna finish it, let me just hear what Daniel said again. Okay, and then I can finish it.
I'm as much a natural fisherman as
I'm as much a natural fisherman as a podcaster is an outdoors person.
I went a monk.
A podcaster is a monk.
A silent monk.
Okay, yeah, because you can't do that. Yeah. Okay.
I'm as much a natural fisherman as a podcaster is a. Yeah, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's too much. It's too much. I'm as much of a natural fisherman as who's somebody that hates fish. Hi.
Yeah, I'm as much a natural fisherman as a vegan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, Shannon.
The Chizzy. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're starting with we start with the big one, right? 3.
Yeah, 3. I mean, so okay. Well, 3 points. I'll give 3 points to High.
Okay.
I just feel like he's really it'll never not be impressive that they went from a 2 to 4 minority to being able to split the vote with their majority on the next vote. And I just feel like he's got it on lock. The split was really smart. He also Daniel specifically credits High for blindsiding him of why he doesn't even play the shot in the dark, really covered it. And for Lydia, who I'm not going to give points to, while she's a part of that, and I credit that, I feel like he had to do more work because he was a camp and she lost the social opportunity with Roxroy. So
that's fair. So I really had a hard time with dealing out the points for the Vati tribe. I gave 3 points to Mike. Okay. Hear me out, because Mike had to, make this decision, and ultimately, that's when it came down to it. He had to decide what to do on the mat, and it was a choice between.
I don't know if that's balls or stupidity.
And so he went with the soccer balls, and that he says his line, but I thought it was very important that he got his vote back, because I felt like that he had a much more active role in what was going to go on there, and he didn't leave it to chance to not have his vote. Also, I do think that he is going to have something potentially with Drea and Marianne as being one of the people that also has the connection with, and so I think that he has potential options there. I think he's not seen as much of a pair as High and Lydia is. And so I thought this was a good episode for Mike. And because I'm really struggling with sort of deciding how this ultimate decision went between High and Lydia, that I gave the points to Mike.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they should get rid of Chanelle, which is obviously, I'm saying, is High's decision. I'm still giving him 3 points because I think, as he said, you kind of want to get rid of both of them. So just even achieving getting rid of one of them, at least you've gotten that far, even if I don't personally agree with the decision. And I think a lot of that might come down to social dynamics. I don't know. This
is what High said about the two of them.
They're 2 weasels in a chicken coop.
They are 2 weasels in a chicken coop.
A lot of bad analogies on Vati.
How did the weasels get in the chicken coop? I guess, are they the chickens? Get these weasels out of here. They're both in the chicken coop.
Yeah.
Or have you captured the weasels?
I think, the This is not my expertise, Rob.
I feel like again that look, Hi loves
fisherman.
animals. Okay, he doesn't want to see any animals hurt.
No.
So I kind of felt like that they had the weasels captured in the chicken coop at that point.
Yeah, but they're running around. I think is the analogy. So
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, he still got it done, but I'm going to give 2 points to Mike for I like the fact that he was thinking of the decision, and I like that the show gave them the opportunity to like, I know the whole like must use thing has been contentious, but I like that they've had the decision, especially because I feel like they kind of didn't have a decision in taking the beware advantage. I've always felt like, you know, it does say you can pick it up, and it does say beware, but it also says advantage, and I've never really felt like that was true. Definitely last season, I didn't feel like the advantage part of beware advantage was as much as the beware part of beware advantage. So I like that they've given them the decision. I think if you're going to have to go all in where you must say it, and then it doesn't even work at the merge, they should be able to read it and then know all that and then give it back even after it. There has to be some decision somewhere. So I like that they gave Mike the decision. I like that he was thinking of the decision, but I like that he ultimately went with getting it, because there could be a connection, because his allies seemed grateful for the vote so that they could split. So like if you're making your allies happy, that's a good thing. And also he's like, well, no one will know about the idol. It's already way out there. Like they all know about it. Chanelle knows about it. She's probably flipping and telling people about it anyway. Daniel at that point, like they haven't even lost a challenge. So Daniel might still be there. He'd probably tell people, like, it's not like just he knows. A lot of people know. So at that point, you might as well get your vote back and activate the idol and make the connection. So I'll give 2 points to Mike, because I liked all of that. He's in with the majority. A lot of the stuff with High played out to the vote where they were the 3. They've really consolidated something. So yeah, 2 points. What are your 2 points?
My 2-pointer went to Drea, that I feel like that she had a really good episode. I feel like she's really come on strong over the last couple of weeks. I thought that she might not be in a great spot in the first couple of weeks, especially when she pitched the Women's Alliance, and then Swati went right back and was working to get her voted out. And while I had felt like over the first couple of weeks, Romeo was kind of like the driving force, and he still may well be, like, it feels much more like a partnership than it was that I felt like were earlier on, where Romeo was pulling all of the strings. Of course, she's Survivor Rich, gets the episode title. That's got to count for something. She has all the advantages coming into the merge, and then potentially that she is the one that has an in with Marianne, has the in with Mike over bonding over the idols, plus the potential relationship with High and with Lindsay already. So I feel like that Drea is, coming on strong, coming into this merge.
Yeah, well, I'll give 1 point to Drea. That's okay. We've been. I was very low on Drea in the first couple of weeks. Like, Steven gave her a fishy, and I was like, I completely disagree. I thought that I said this is going to go one of 2 ways for Drea, because she can't do anything by halves. So extreme. And I thought that best for a 26-day game. But even then, I thought, this was best for like a 2-day LRG. I just thought she was coming on so strong. There were some misreads, but then she covered for all of that last week, and I thought she was great last week. And this week as well, like, I'm starting to see, I think, like, if it's going to be a big fall or a big win for Drea, like, I'm starting to think it could be a big win. Like, she's so dominant in the challenge. Like, that's another thing, is she's a big physical threat, which Steven mentioned on Know-It-Alls. Now she's got, like, trinkets to protect her, every trinket in the game. And importantly, like, Romeo feels so good about her. They're one of the closest relationships in the game. And I know that, like, in the draft last season, I was trying to pick a lot of the, like, alpha male players who I thought could really work with this shorter format. And I thought even Drea was too much for that. But now I'm thinking, like, she could be the alpha player that just dominates this 26 days, wins some challenges, has the trinkets, plays the idols, makes the fire, gets it done. Like, I can see it for Drea, and I'm, like, very turned around on how well she's playing right now.
She's doing a great job. Okay. And then for 1 point, I'm going to, I had a very hard time going between either High or Lydia, but I will give my 1 point to my one big fat juicy point to Lydia. Okay, High, give him the honorable mention, but for Lydia, she went to Shipwheel Island. She didn't risk her vote. Okay, that has been like the bar is low. Okay, Shannon. So first off, good job, good job, Lydia. And I really feel like, and again, I know Daniel in the exit interview said, "Oh, High, Lydia does whatever High says," but I really felt like, in going back and watching the episode, it seemed like that Mike and Hai were sort of like Mike said, okay, whatever you want to do, you decide. I'll do whatever you want. We saw earlier in the episode, Hai seemed more like that he was leaning towards voting out Chanelle. Lydia came back from Shipwheel Island, and I feel like that she was the deciding factor in Chanelle versus Daniel. I could be reading too much into it, but I thought that the body language between her and Chanelle her and Daniel wasn't as warm as her and Chanelle. And I'm going to give the point to Lydia.
Well, other than the social opportunity lost, I did love her vocalizing how important her vote was to her. And I can't ever, criticize anyone for protecting. I love that. I love, taking the opportunity of Shipwheel Island that gives you the out, taking the out to have your vote. I also think Lydia could not risk her vote, even if she got the vote. Mm-hmm. Imagine how bad that would look after the Chanelle thing to come back and be like, I risked my vote. Who knows how this is going to go? Like, she obviously couldn't. So I liked her protecting her vote, and I liked her vocalizing the significance of that. So that puts Lydia on the board where she wasn't on the board, and that actually only leaves Chanelle and Roxroy of the players left in the game who don't have points right now.
Yeah, I feel like Chanelle should have a point.
Chanelle was doing good stuff when they weren't going to tribal council, and then but it wasn't enough to get votes because other tribes were like taking the focus, and then since the tribal council stuff, it's been like more negative. Although this was good to throw her vote, I think, even though maybe she put herself in danger of the tie. It was smart to think of it, but the fact that the majority covered for it and like kind of beat her in that way, she does stay over Daniel, but I don't know that it's like enough for a point, but it's worth acknowledging.
Who do you think was more at fault in there not being any sort of like game chemistry between Lydia and Roxroy? One or the other, or both, 50, both were bad.
They acknowledge how cagey they both were. I thought it was an interesting quote where they're like, well, we're both trying to protect our tribes. I'm like, you're fractured tribes of 4. Like, you need each other. You need help. Like, you try and connect in that way.
But I feel like that Lydia was trying a little bit more. That Lydia's like, maybe I could go home. I could be on the bottom.
But
and I feel
like she's lying to him, and he's reading that.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, Roxroy isn't like, well, hey, like if you make it through, like you should, work with they weren't throwing out anything. Like, I feel like that she kind of opened the door, and he's like, well, like, who's tight? What's tight? What is this? Where are we?
What is tight? So 5-letter word that you could use in Wordle, but you wouldn't with the 2 T's. Would be terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think what I know of them as social players, otherwise I'd put the blame on Roxroy, but maybe they just didn't vibe as a pair. But I think they should have gone out of their way, both of them. Like, I put it on both of them. Like, you're both at fault.
Especially Roxroy, who that opened this episode talking about like, well, I have to work more on my my social bonds. I have to work more on my social game.
Yeah, and then it's like, let's kind of shut down this opportunity. I mean, they weren't rude to each other. It wasn't bad, but they just didn't take the opportunity that others have taken to extreme long-term gains.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon and Liana, like, were in this spot.
Yeah.
Not that they need to be Shannon and Liana, like, not that it's such a natural pairing. But also, then why does
Deshawn?
Yeah, I mean, Evie and Deshawn, like, I think have both said, like, in another world, they really wanted it to work, and it just for a million reasons didn't. But like, if Rox couldn't make the most of the social opportunity, like, why even ask to go? Did you want to like do the hike? Like, I guess to have the opportunity. Then he protected the vote. Like, what were you trying to get out of this? Because they send Lydia, so they know that is the person who's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, should they have tried to send what they feel is like a more natural pair? Because I think like, there's like winks on the mat. Maybe like, is there a relationship that we can see? Like, who could like Romeo could have gone maybe with, I don't know.
Okay, so
Lydia,
Kika got to pick one person from the tribe going to tribal council, right?
Yeah.
And then they pick somebody from their own camp or somebody from, like, I don't know why you would ever send somebody from the other camp, especially like once you know what it is.
And no one ever has. If we talk about like the mechanisms from 41 coming back in 42 and people making the same decision, like everyone takes the beware advantage and everyone sends someone from their own tribe, because why would you allow that opportunity for others?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, they could have. So maybe they don't want to send High. Maybe Drea doesn't want to as someone with the bounty, and she's like, well, that's like my kind of target.
Mm-hmm.
Having had Mike just say the phrase, like maybe that would have been an interest, like to send Mike, and maybe Romeo to be like, hey, we both have this thing.
I don't know why you make such a good point of why not send Romeo there. That like, okay, program him with the information. Do you think there's anything to what I was saying with Steven on Know-It-Alls where that like you are not allowed to talk about what like the rules are of, you don't think so?
I don't think so.
Because Lydia knew like, oh, she's like, oh yeah, it's just like Jenny said. It was like you risk your vote. Yeah. So like, but she seemed like especially like cagey about the whole thing where, if she was not going to, like, you talked about this with Taryn a couple of weeks ago, that like the Survivor 41 players figured out very easily, like the win-win scenario is, okay, I'm not going to risk my vote. You take the advantage. That we will work together in the future.
Gamed it every time.
Yeah, but maybe they felt like going into the 4-4-4. It's like, well, like we can't get if we give the other group now it's not a 4-4-4. Maybe we need to be cagey because that when we go into the merge, it's like they have 5. So that will offset the whole 4-4-4 of it all.
But if you pull over Roxroy, it's 2 votes for you if you can. I think that they sent Roxroy as like an apology for blindsiding him because they're trying to like probably make good on that. I still think they should have sent Romeo. Why is like I just don't get why Rox is even trying to go if it's not like a natural connection. Like I feel like I might have gone with Mike, like having him had just say the phrase with Drea and Romeo making that decision for Romeo to go with Mike and be like, instant connection. We both have idols. Taku was so strong. They are the Goliath. We need to come together as our 2 tribes. These are the votes I have. Like, let's give you an extra vote. Well, Romeo at that point will get an extra vote and Mike will have to give it up. And like, let's really create something that's going to be Shannon Liana level strong. Like, let's invest in that with like a very social player in Romeo and Mike, advantages within their groups. That to me, like, imagine how different our conversation would be if we weren't like, oh, there's no connective tissue really between Vati and Ika. If instead it was 2 power players of those tribes going there and being like, let's work together and let's do it with some trinkets. Like, I think that could have been really good, but I don't know why they made the choices that they did for both Lydia. Lydia, maybe they just thought that, like we could get on with Lydia, but then with Rox, who is not really with them hugely and is like not a very social player. But can I give the charts?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so we have 2 new leaders on the board.
Ooh.
Kai and Drea are tying on 11 now.
Okay. Wide open season.
Yeah, it's been super consistent. Romeo 9, Omar's on 5, Jonathan's on 5. Oh, and actually Mike has jumped up to 7.
Okay.
Oh, I do this, I write it down. And then we've got a lot of people on 2. Tori's on 2, Lindsay's on 2, Swati, Jenny, and Daniel are all gone, but they were on 2. Marianne's on 1 and Lydia is on 1. So, it's a wide open season. But yeah, interesting to think about some of those choices in hindsight. I'd love to know why they chose Roxroy.
We'll have to wait for the deep dives.
With Roxroy?
That
would be more with Romeo and
Romeo.
Yeah, you'd have to. Yeah, I hope that we do get into it because it could be it sounds silly, like who you choose to go to Shipwell Island, but like when you think about how much impact it had with Shannon Liana.
Well, think about how much impact it had with Chanelle and Omar a couple of weeks ago.
You can go either way. Yeah, exactly.
And
when you don't have no tribe has a majority, and it is so chaotic, and you don't have any swaps, these external connections, and I think it's why people clung to it last season, because it's like, well, I've only met these 3 other people. Like, you're the only other person I know. Like, let's talk it out, or we have some connection over an advantage. I think there's a lot there.
Yeah. Shannon, we've seen now 2 seasons in a row of no tribe swaps heading into the merge. Would you like to see more seasons like this, or just mix it up?
It's interesting when it's mixed up. Like, last season was shocking. This season, we all knew there'd be no tribe swap because it's the same season as last season. Sorry if everyone can hear that rain. I don't know if you can, but
it's rain. I was like, is there like a heater going on? Yeah.
No, that Sydney rain, which is bucketing down. It's been a crazy year of rain for Sydney.
The classic tale of the bunny rabbit in the mailbox. Thankfully,
luckily,
you
I have
are
shelter.
safe.
Yeah, luckily I'm in my mailbox.
Eating breakfast in the mailbox.
Yeah. Anyway, that's Sydney at the moment. What was the question?
Did you like seeing seasons
swap
without the swap?
Well, you would think that usually the swaps would create a little bit of the dynamic votes through the merge, but these tribes are so chaotic and none of them have a majority. So it's interesting in a 3-tribe season. I think also because it's so short, like how many relationships can be made to swap for just like a couple of votes?
Yeah.
It's only 5 people win in the pre-merge. Like how many rounds really are there to, test people's loyalty?
Yeah, I don't think you need it in the 3-tribe season. I think that because now we're going to go into the merge, and especially like we've never had this before. This is very exciting to see a 4-4-4 and see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, first time ever.
I know, it's exciting.
So
All right, let's talk some Survivor social media. Of course, this has been a fun season of social media. Okay, I don't know if this is going to work on the audio podcast, but let me see if I can bring this up in the video version here with Shannon. Shannon, have you seen the video of the great Stan Mike Turner on Twitter this week? Mike made a video. You've seen it. Okay. Mike made a video where he is talking about how he feels about soccer. Okay, here's a little bit of Mike. Is Mike on the soccer field?
All right, I heard a lot about this soccer thing. I'm ready to give it a try.
Okay. And they put Mike in he's going to be playing goalie as some young women are taking shots on goal on Mike. So Mike's being a very good sport. He says, there's such grace in the game of soccer. It makes me cry. Okay, now I'm crying. Mike has made some wacky videos during the season.
Yeah, Mike is really doing the social media thing as not a Gen Z, should I say. But does Mike know that a lovable person who doesn't know a lot about soccer, discovering soccer is just a great formula for what people want to see? I mean, Ted Lasso is one of the best shows.
Yes.
The last couple of years. Is he trying to beat Ted Lasso?
Okay. Is Mike Ted Lasso? Has Mike seen Ted Lasso? Does Mike have Apple TV? I don't even know what Apple TV means. Yeah.
If he hasn't seen it, Mike, watch Ted Lasso. Like, if you want to get like a gateway, I mean, there's not a lot of soccer in it, and actually, Peter tells me that a lot of the soccer things are actually wrong. But
probably, yeah. And Ted Lasso's a football coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's mimicking the whole plot of Ted Lasso. Literally, it's not original, but it's great. It's a brilliant formula.
He's the same guy. Okay. So check this out. So in the video, did you happen to catch Mike's shirt?
I did, but
yes.
Nope.
Yeah. So I said, what is this? So Mike's shirt here, if you catch this, his shirt says at the top, MILF. And then underneath it says, "Man, I love football." I think we need a comma in there. But there you go, MILF.
That's great.
Man, I love football.
I'm learning a lot about Mike, who would be the type of person to own that shirt.
Yeah, it took me a while before I read the bottom of the shirt. It's like, boy, Mike, but this what is this, Mike? No, what he's going out there with?
One of those shirts where it's essential to read the whole thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like
Food and sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go for there's Mike. Okay. Then this was another fun exchange that happened. Okay. So Shannon, you were talking recently on the podcast about Swati's final words. Remember that?
How could I forget?
Yeah. And so Swati, of course, we're not sure if she's going to be out on This Week in Survivor History with Jordan Kalish anytime soon. But so she had an exchange with, of course, the great Eric Reichenbach recently. Eric Reichenbach said, when your Instagram account is your small business account for comics, and nobody knows who you are. And he shared this exchange of Swati took the Eric Reichenbach photo. Eric Reichenbach does a drawing. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Eric Reichenbach has a drawing. Why don't all my number ones trust me? And so Eric, I guess, sent this to Swati, who wrote back, "Love it." And then Eric said, "Thank you. I made the same mistake just on day 35. I promised everyone final tribal council because they pressured me. And Swati replied, wait, who are you?
What Swati has made a lot of public Survivor trivia missteps in the last 10 days.
And then Swati retweeted the whole exchange and said, what is actually wrong with me? Hashtag Survivor 42.
Well, here's the question. Is there any situation where it's ever okay to say, wait, who are you? Google it.
Who are you? Yeah.
Just look at it. It's probably like, let's find out what W, like, how much does it not look like Eric? I'm gonna go check out on Instagram, like how easy it might have been for her to figure out that this is Eric.
Yeah, it's not like his name is like Eric
Literally,
Thompson.
Right. So the bio, W Doodles is the name. Yep, at W Doodles. Comic illustration and art by Eric Reichenbach. By Eric Reich. It's in the first line. By Eric.
Eric Reichenbach, that is like a name you probably wouldn't forget. And if anything, before you go on Survivor, right? Wouldn't the cautionary tale of Eric Reichenbach be something that you would want to learn? Like the most famous clip that they show over and over and over again. Don't be Eric Reichenbach. Just whatever you do.
I'm starting to doubt Swathi's Survivor fandom. Like, I don't mean to gatekeep.
Yeah.
And I know that like I shouldn't do that. And I'm always the one deciding when people are super fans. Swathi's on notice. She's not getting facts right.
She does know Boston Rob, okay?
Knows Boston Rob, but she thinks he was out on day. Look,
yeah,
it was a brain typo. She didn't, but it was less about you, right? Like, how on earth was that you, Rob? Like, if she had said like, well, I'm fourth out, but maybe I'll go on to make an incredible podcast empire, I'd be like, okay, but you didn't win.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Okay. Lydia Chlamydia tweeted this week.
I don't know what to do with all of Lydia's Twitter, by the way.
Okay. Lydia Chlamydia said, help. I ate a whole paper towel on accident. No further questions. Am I okay?
But I have 8 questions.
Mm-hmm.
But no further questions? Because I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Why were you eating a paper towel? Why didn't you stop before you ate the whole paper towel? Why are you tweeting about how you ate a paper towel? The questions continue in that vein. Yeah.
How do you eat a whole paper towel on accident? I guess she has no questions. Shannon, can you come up with a theory?
Why would you? So
I don't think I could do without throwing up.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah.
Maybe she was eating food, potato. Think of a potato with sauce, right? It's on a paper towel, and you will you accidentally? No, there's no way you should eat a paper towel. No one should eat a paper towel.
Maybe the only way I could think that you could eat a paper towel. Okay, hear me out. Okay, you ever microwave a tortilla shell, like a flour tortilla? I suppose you put it in a couple because you don't want to put it on the tray of the microwave, right? So
you just put it on a plate.
I don't always put it on a plate. I just put it. Sometimes I just put it on a paper towel. Sometimes the paper towel is a little wet.
No. You need plates.
Yeah, I need a plate.
Yeah, you need to eat your food on a plate, Rob.
Well, I will eventually eat my food on a plate, but in the microwave, it's just like, hey, I'm just going to make this tortilla shell. No?
Plate.
So the paper towel gets a little damp. Maybe Maybe if I put my stuff in the tortilla shell, and then I could potentially, did I eat the paper towel?
Okay, good theory. But here's a rebuttal. You take one bite, you'd be like, well, I'm eating paper towel, and you'd stop, and you wouldn't eat any more of it. So how would you eat the whole paper towel?
Well, maybe you've made like a burrito, and it's like this burrito I think is bad.
One bite, you're out. Like, I don't.
Yeah. No. Okay. All right. There's
no defense to that. I'm sorry. Like, I know I don't have all the answers, but absolutely, I can't stand by that.
Okay. All right. I'm not that. So Lydia Chlamydia invented a new phrase, which I haven't heard before. I don't even know if I could say this.
Yeah. Well, now you have to.
Okay. I hope everyone got emotional.
Oh, I saw this. You're gonna have
Let's
to say.
let me say. Let's have.
Let's play charades. Actually, know
okay,
the word.
no. Emotionally.
You could do like sounds like.
Sounds like. Yeah.
So sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, let's leave Lydia's Twitter because I'm not, and I just sexually harassed you. So
check out Lydia's Twitter if you're interested. Okay. All right.
Like sounds like phone.
Yeah. Phoners. Yeah. Yeah. Like we do our exit interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is this on a video or is it a phoner? Yeah. Or are you happy to see me? Yeah. Okay. How about we got some more insight into Nasier, who had one of the Beware Advantage phrases last season. Nasier's wife, Diana, who's great, tweeted, honestly impressed that Nasier said his phrase correctly. He never heard the word AstroTurf before and didn't know what it meant or how to pronounce it. There's got to be great footage of him somewhere of a producer explaining it. #Survivor, #multilingual. Nasier, one of the few people to nail the Beware Advantage phrase.
Yeah. Well, that's what I've been saying with Marianne. Like, if you can use that stuff, like Nasier using something of a language barrier, that's right. Like, oh, I just said it wrong. Like, this isn't an American phrase. And I've been saying Marianne as an immigrant should be using, because that's what I would do. There's 1,000 things I could say to Peter, like, oh, that's just a South African phrase. And he'd be like, okay. But it doesn't work for Marianne because she keeps changing what the bunny rabbit is doing. So now the fable back to consistency. So now it can't be like a Kenyan fable, because the first question I'd have is, what's the bunny rabbit doing? You keep changing what the bunny rabbit is doing.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean?
I mean, I guess that's like our Survivor analysis, changes from week to week.
I was going to ask, do you think I think too much about things?
It's the classic case of the bunny rabbit in the mailbox.
Sits there thinking, doesn't go outside, podcasting. The bunny rabbit is never leaves the house or the mailbox.
Yes.
I'm the bunny rabbit. We were all the bunny rabbit all along.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This was one that we got a lot of requests for us to talk about, that in a series of tweets today, 4-time survivor Ozzy Luth came out today and announced that he is bisexual.
Congrats to Ozzy.
Congrats to Ozzy. I've been a long time Ozzy fan, and I had him on the podcast a couple of years ago. He was a bucket list interview for me, and I always felt like that Ozzy had a lot more depth and was a very interesting guy to talk to, and I was so happy I got the chance to interview him a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a super fandom glow up as stark as Ozzy, from like what we knew of him in the first couple of seasons to like what he ended up being. So different to what we thought. Just like a great and interesting person. So.
Yeah, but I think that Ozzy is somebody who really benefited from, on the show was sort of like portrayed like only like as like sort of like two-dimensional caricature of, it's all, winning challenges, and I think that he's somebody who really has, the more people get to know Ozzy, the more they like him.
Yeah. Like, he's not someone who benefits from being shoved in the mailbox that is a Survivor edit and just having to be like one type of bunny.
Yes. Yeah. So, kudos to Ozzy. All right. And then, Shannon, I have one more thing that I want to run past you. This actually came up last week, but I didn't get the chance to talk about it on any of the podcasts. Have you been following the musical artist Jack Harlow?
I can't say that I have.
Okay. Are you familiar with any of his work?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
Yes. Okay. So Jack Harlow, he's a musician, has a lot of songs on TikTok. Okay.
Oh, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he's got a brand new song called First Class. People really like it. All right. So he happens to also be a big Survivor fan, and by proxy must be a listener of Bravo's podcast. And so that Jeff Probst reached out to Jack Harlow recently. Okay. And made this video. That have you seen this?
No, I said I've seen everything, but I have no idea.
Okay, this is gonna blow your mind. Okay, all right. So this was from a tweet from the CBS, which I think CBS had the Grammys this year. Okay, CBS tweeted out this video where Jack Harlow at the Grammys was presented with a phone with a message from the host of Survivor, the one and only Jeff Probst. Okay, here is this video.
It's Probst from Survivor. First of all, congratulations on the Grammy love. I hope you're having an awesome day. And I just wanted to take this moment to extend an invitation. I know you can't.
He doesn't call himself Mr. Jeff. He opens up. Harlow. It's Probst.
It's Probst.
Yeah. Okay. So he has an invitation for Jack Harlow. Okay. Here we go.
To extend an invitation. I know you can't play Survivor. I get it. Your career is on fire. But if your schedule had a break of a few days, here's my invite. My treat, grab some of your buddies. You fly out of LAX, put you up in that private suite thing so nobody bugs you. Then you get on the plane last minute, lie down pods. Plane leaves like a mid.
Lie down pods. That sounds like I would never do lie down pods.
I'm proud.
Kiva? Yeah.
Standing pods. I would rather lie down than be standing. I'll say that.
All right.
Pods. Plane leaves like at midnight. You go to sleep. You wake up. You're there. And then the helicopter will pick you up, bring you to base camp, which is an 8-minute flight. And then from there, you do what you want. You and your friends can run a challenge. We'll bring out the cameras and shoot it. You can watch the survivors run a challenge. You can go to tribal, visit the tribe camp if you want. And if any of you are
visit the tribe camp.
What? Why? Why is Jeff doing this?
I don't know. It goes on.
And if any of you are surfers, you know Fiji has literally world-class surfing at Cloudbreak. So anyway, that's the invitation. And if it doesn't work this summer, the invitation stands for next year. Mainly, I just wanted to share a little Survivor love and say that from everything I see about you, not only are you talented, and I am pumped for White Men Can't Jump, you seem like a really likable guy. And that is super cool and very key. So I hope you're having a great day today. Enjoy the Grammys and look forward to meeting in person one day. Later.
Yeah, I'd love to go. Jesus, can't wait to show my best friend this. This is insane.
Okay, and he has a bunch of Survivor buffs. So let's see, Survivor 43 or 44 players. Get ready. You might get to meet Jack Harlow at your beach.
He can never play Survivor. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, literally look like we've been talking about what Jonathan is contending with. Like, if Jack Harlow plays, who I just looked up, 5.3 million followers. I've not heard of this man.
Yes.
But if Jack Harlow plays, can you imagine Jeff after every challenge? Jack, you just dominated that
Jack,
challenge
again.
And we made the challenge a singing competition.
Yeah, but he knows his career. His career, is too hot. Can't go play Survivor, but he can come visit anytime that he wants. Now,
what? That for so many reasons. I got more questions than the paper towel.
Yeah, he's got like a money in the bank pass to go and visit Survivor anytime he wants. And then on top of that, then Boston Rob jumped in and said,
"No,
let me know. I want in on this trip. Fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. At Jack Harlow, at Jeff Probst, at Survivor CBS."
Who is Jack Harlow? Did you know who Jack Harlow was before this?
Yes, of course, Shannon.
Wait, so you have to just 5 million Instagram followers, which isn't even that much anymore.
Yeah.
And you can get a personal invitation from Jeff Probst to go have like a Survivor vacation, like a theme.
Yes. That's correct.
I have abundant questions. Like, even the fact that you can't play because you don't want to, but we would have you anytime. Like, that's not how Jeff should be casting the show.
Yeah, I think that it used to be if you were famous, you could just give ideas for the show. Now, like if you're famous enough, you could just come in and get the live feeds.
What monstrosity will the Jack Harlow idol be? That's what I want. Well, how can they do that? Jack Harlow hourglass. That's what it was the whole time.
And the question is that who's Jack Harlow's best friend? Is it Boston Rob?
Maybe. Does he know that Boston Rob was not fourth out of my cases?
Maybe Jack Harlow was like, "Oh, Swati, can't believe you blew it."
Swati doesn't even know who Eric Reichenbach is.
Yeah. So very interesting. So a big Survivor fan, Jack Harlow, may be going to visit Fiji anytime soon.
So
roll out the red carpet for him.
It sounds like a lovely Jack Harlow he's never gonna do that.
Yeah, and I guess it sounds like there's no COVID quarantine anymore. So that's good news for the future players of Survivor.
But also the way that Jeff was like, we're going to do this whole thing for you. Let me tell you in detail why it's not an irritation to you. Like, so, like you get to the lie down pods and we're going to put you up in a suite. Like, couldn't be easier or quicker. Like, Jeff, chill out. You are coming way too strong. Like, play a little hard to get. Like, hey, you're a big fan. If you want to come to Fiji, check out the set. Doors always open. That's the message. Why was it that? Like,
Jeff makes it sound like it's a hop, skip, and a jump from LA to Fiji.
Yeah.
So
just like 30 hours.
Yeah, just get on the plane, lie down, go to sleep. We wake up and you're there. Amazing. Okay.
This is unhinged, Rob. I'm so glad you brought this to my life.
I've wanted to talk about it all week. It's wild. Okay.
I'm so glad I got to be here for it because I'm confused.
Okay. I mean, Sia's like, hey, what I never got to go on location.
Yeah, and then when he gets there, he has to sign something that's like, you're not giving out the fan favorite award. It's your award. You're in for $100,000 per season.
Yep. Okay. Shannon, anything else about Survivor 42? I mean, this time has flown by.
And yeah, I mean,
like a trip to Fiji, like from LAX, like nothing.
Yeah. Closed my eyes, did a lie down pod, and here we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've got so many notes, and they're all here. It's like I don't know. We talked about a lot of it. I don't know. I think we did it, Rob. I think we did the strategy. We went all the way to that phoner thing that we'll never talk about again.
Yes. Oh, I have something else for you.
Okay? Oh, wow.
Okay. So Jonathan talked about in this episode that he's 6'4", 250 pounds, 240, something big guy. Okay. Why is Jonathan? He's so big.
How big is he?
He's a big strong guy, but yet his clothes don't fit him. His clothes are way too big for him. Why are they you like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you see him walk around and he has like shirts that are like hanging off of him. He's a giant man and he's wearing a shirt that's like for an 8-foot, 400-pound man.
Well, that's a fashion choice. That's like a hipster.
Is he trying to look smaller by wearing gigantic clothes like a kid, like who's been stolen his dad's clothes?
I hear that. Yeah, trying to make yourself look smaller is a very important strategy for big guys in Survivor. And yeah, I think that Jonathan's.
He's wearing a shirt. They didn't even have to win the mini tarp. Jonathan's shirt could have been the mini tarp.
I guess. Like, are we here to? Am I going to criticize Jonathan's fashion? Are you going to? Are we in that position? Like, we can.
No, I want to know if anyone else has noticed this.
I get it. I do see what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Strategy. I think that it's
Is this emergent gameplay?
I would definitely want to. I would get like a huge dress, and then I could go out at night and have like a blanket.
Yes, smart. That's so smart. Nobody's ever thought of this before. I mean, Jonathan's been waiting his whole life to play this game.
Yeah, literally, if he was like, I can use my clothing as like shelter, that would be genius. We've definitely seen it before with people doing it with their items. So.
Yeah. All right, Shannon. I know Australian Survivor just wrapped up, but I know that we are. This is like the season. You're just getting warmed up. The postseason is your actual season.
Well, I'm getting warmer, but that actually means colder.
Hotter.
Yeah. So
yes.
A lot going on. We're covering, Survivor 42 every week on Global. I can announce next week my guest will be Lisa Stanger.
Oh.
So excited about that. And then on Australian Survivor, I did the 3.5-hour recap with Nick and Mike, and Nick had COVID. And had COVID. Get well soon, Nick. And it was a ride. And
Yes.
I won't spoil it because there were twists and turns through the podcast. So that happened, which was very fun. The exits with the final 5, deep dives coming. I'm doing a deep dive tomorrow with Sam Gash. That'll be my first of what will be a few deep dives. I've got articles on 10 Play if anyone wants to check that out. Rob, you were mentioned in one of my articles.
I was for in a positive way, or I got dragged.
You should hate. No, I did I think it was 13 Survivor moves you need to see in your lifetime, and I did you voting out the swing vote. Love that move.
What number was it?
It was in
The
chronological.
12th one? Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been doing articles on 10 Play. You can follow me at Shannon Gates for all of this. I'm also on Memo, Rob. Do you know this?
No, you're on Memo?
Memo is like Cameo for Australia. We also have Cameo.
Okay.
I know, after making fun of Cameo for so long, which how could I not?
Yes.
I'm Memo. I really appreciate anyone who's bought a memo. It's for personalized content, what my thoughts on something, done birthday shout outs, throwing shade at some people. I watched 2 episodes of Total Drama Island. What else have I done? I decided a Taylor Swift brand steal. I passive aggressively insulted Mike Bloom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This sounds incredible. This sounds much better than Cameo.
It's not, I mean, it is Cameo, but I try and give a lot to the video. So my videos run at an average of about 6 minutes.
Yes. Okay, a lot of bang for your buck.
Yeah, pretty much. And one, at first I couldn't work out how to upload it in a better way. So they had to be uploaded by the person organizing it from the back end. But now I can do it myself. But they've been 4, 5, 6 minutes. So yeah. So hopefully, some more people buy, but I really appreciate everyone that's gotten a memo so far. And yeah, that's pretty much all I've got going on. So thanks for having me.
Well, Shannon, I appreciate it so much when you come on to the feedback show. It's always one of my favorite podcasts of the season because I know you bring so much and you put so much thought into this. And I feel like that you always leave me thinking about things in the game that I hadn't even had crossed my mind.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, vice versa. Obviously, that's been my whole Survivor superfan career, is listening to you tell me things I hadn't thought about. That's how I can do anything that I do, has just been through years and years of listening to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And you could hear Shannon, in addition to talking about Australian Survivor, you could hear Shannon talking about Survivor 42 every week on the Survivor Global podcast in our Survivor podcast feed, which is, you should subscribe, robswebsite.com/Survivor feed. And the one you did at the merge last season with King George, one of the best Survivor podcasts from all of RHAP last season.
Thank you. Well, George will be on soon as well. So getting,
I love George.
Yeah, I know that you do. And I do too. So that's why I try to get, these great guests on. And I appreciate all your kind words and the opportunity, as always, to podcast, come on the feedback show, which I honestly feel like is always a thrill for me. I don't know what it is. Ali Lash was talking about it last week. The feedback show, what was once the voicemails, there's something about, I always remember you asking me to be on the feedback show as the strongest realization of a dream that I've ever had. Because you asked me to cover Survivor. That wasn't a dream because I didn't know I could have it, because that was ridiculous. And even Know-It-Alls, I never would have thought I could ever be on Know-It-Alls. But in my mind, I was if I could just one day be on the voicemails, in any, how. And then you message, you were do you want to come on the season 37 premiere voicemails? And I genuinely remember calling Peter in that moment and being I just had a dream come true. Most people, you don't get that. I hope everyone gets it. It's an amazing thing. Truly, a dream fulfilled moment. And every time I come on the feedback show, I think about that.
Yeah. Well, that is very nice to hear, because I just think the world of you as a podcaster. So it's very nice to know that, that is a true story.
It is a true story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Money rabbit.
Money rabbit in the mailbox. Okay. Shannon, thank you so much. Of course, check out everything else we're doing over at robhasawebsite.com, and a lot of fun podcasts this week. Check out the Survivor Academy for the patrons of Rob's podcast over at robhasawebsite.com/patron. Thank you so much for, especially everybody. I really want to take a moment to appreciate everybody who made it almost 3 hours into one of the many Survivor podcasts this week. Hashtag Potato. Which one? Potato Pataro?
Potato happening, but I feel like it might happen by itself. Potato Pataro is exclusive to this.
That's the 3 hour mark. Okay. All right. Thank you all so much. Take care, everybody. Have a good one.